Hello everybody! Welcome back to the Dough Cooking Show, to the Dough Cooking Stream. I hope you're all having a beautiful Wednesday. If you're watching this live, it is currently, Wednesday, May 29th, the one and only, and I see that we have all of my lovely sous chefs. Hello to Smother the Pan, it's been a little bit. Hello to Eliam, hello to Spooky Wide Trap, hello to Trash Can Cat Mom, hello to Jack, hello to Jay, hello to Tarina Chess, hello to Good Weirdo. I see that we have all of the usuals, all of the classics. It's good to see all of you. Welcome on in. So, hello everybody. Really quickly today, I do just want to note, I am a little sniffly. I think I'm a little bit sick. So if I do seem a little bit off, please forgive me. I'm going to try my best to still power through everything. Also, Hexaquola, thank you so much for stopping by. It's lovely to have you. Okay, let me have a nice little sip of water before we begin talking about everything that we need to go ahead and do for today. Okay guys, so we're going to be doing a butter chicken today, or chicken makhani. I believe some people say makhni or makhani, either one. But regardless, guys, we're going to be doing a lovely butter chicken. We're going to be doing a really delicious coriander rice alongside it. We're going to do a rice with a bunch of herbs, and then we'll be doing a raita. And a raita is essentially just a yogurt sauce with some cucumber, not all that dissimilar from tzatziki. And it's very nice to have a raita with something like a butter chicken because it just is able to cool everything off, and it makes it, it's just really fun to have like that really nice contrast. Okay, cold water, room temperature water, official nomination, welcome on in. And I only drink room temperature water. I grew up Eastern European, I grew up Russian. We only drink room temperature water growing up. And also, I don't like cold water because my teeth are a little bit sensitive and you can't drink a lot of cold water at once. Room temperature water, you can just keep on chugging, but it's ice cold water, not for me at all. Okay, so we have three things to make today, my friends. We have to make the butter chicken, we have to make the rice, and then last but not least, we have to make the Raita, which is this yogurt condiment. If we only have fat-free yogurt, maybe we can just add cream. Tarina, why not? Go ahead. It's not going to be exactly the same as a full-fat yogurt, but it'll still be delicious. So let's talk about all the different things that we have for today. As always, everybody, we only start with whole chickens in this household. We're going to be taking the chicken breast and potentially the chicken thighs, and we'll be gently poaching it inside of the gravy, inside of the sauce for today. And as always, I only buy whole chickens. Why? Because it's a little bit more economical to do so, and because I get to be left with all of those lovely chicken bones. And with those chicken bones, we can go ahead and transform them into a beautiful chicken stock. And so today, we're not actually going to be making a chicken stock, but again, the biggest thing that I want to get everybody into the habit of doing is to buy whole chickens. Buying whole chickens, it's a little bit cheaper, and you get all of those lovely bones, my friends. So one medium to small size chicken here. Also, Shy Chica, welcome on in, and Too Much Coffee Cream, hello to you as well. And then everybody, for today we have this big assortment of all of these different vegetables. These tomatoes are going to be used, of course, for the gravy, for the sauce of the butter chicken itself. We're going to be charring it and blending it down. These cucumbers are going to be going into the yogurt sauce, into the raita for today. Also, Soli, welcome on in, it's lovely to have you. And we'll be grating down these cucumbers. I also have some garlic here. We also have some onion as well, because you can't do any kind of cooking without onion. We have plenty of ginger because we'll be making a garlic ginger paste. And then last but not least, we have some green chilies. These are not like small, tiny, like Thai green chilies. These are just some serranos, okay? So we have all of these different vegetables that we are going to need to use and break down and get ready for today. So that was our little showcase. And then everybody, of course, we have some lovely, incredibly fragrant basmati rice, something nice and long green, something super fragrant. And this will be the rice that we'll be having alongside the butter chicken. And you have to have the rice alongside with it. The rice, it is the starch, it is the staple. It is what is able to soak up all of that sauce as you eat it. Okay, so the rice, or any sort of starch alongside a curry, is just straight up not optional. It is not optional. You must have a little bit of rice alongside it. So some basmati rice that we'll be cooking down. And then everybody, last but certainly not least, we have a massive assortment of different spices. We have fenugreek, and we have mustard seeds, and cumin seeds, and coriander seeds, and some black cardamom, and cloves, and some red chilies as well. So we have a lot of spices as well as a garam masala, and we'll talk about the use of all those different spices, why we're using so many, and how it's going to contribute, and how to break it down and process it for today. So, everybody, once again, we're making three things. We're making butter chicken, we're going to be making the rice to go alongside it, and then we'll also be doing the raita, the cucumber sauce, the cucumber yogurt sauce. So, is everybody ready for today? I want to hear a nice yes shout from everybody watching, please and thank you. And because we have so much to do today, we'll keep it chill, we'll keep it steady, we're not going to get too ahead of ourselves, I think. And as always, everybody, if you have any questions whatsoever, please feel free to ask me. We have a lot to actually get done today. If you'd like to see what we're ever making, you can type in !menu for the full breakdown, for the full list. Otherwise, everybody, 2 little bits of housekeeping. First and foremost, follow my backup channel, !backup. That is where we will be moving. I'll be announcing the move-in date this Friday because we have to unfortunately abandon this channel. The second thing that you guys need to get done, please, if you haven't already done so, please check out my Patreon. You can type in !Patreon if you would like. That's a very nice way of directly financially supporting the show. And my goal is to be able to do this full-time one day. And so, as always, everybody, we need to begin by breaking down my whole chicken. We got to break it down. We got to break it down into its individual components. And so let's go ahead and get that. Oh, that's the wrong shot. Excuse me. We got to go ahead and get all of that stuff started. So that's where that shot went. I lost it for a second. Okay. So everybody, we have my cutting board all ready to go for today. As always, on a little paper towel to stop it from moving around. I'm going to go ahead and glove on up, and then we'll talk about my chicken. Okay. So everybody, this is right here, a nice, beautiful whole chicken. As always, once again, we only work with whole chickens on the stream. We only work with whole chickens on the show because it is so much cheaper to do so. Typically speaking, the amount that you're paying to buy individual breasts, the amount that you're paying to buy individual thighs, it can oftentimes cost more than if you were to just buy a whole chicken. Whole chickens do not need to be intimidating, everybody. They don't need to be intimidating. And I'm going to show you how easy it is for us to break it down. I've shown this to you so many times, so I'm not going to go as in depth today. But as always, if you have any questions about it, please feel free to ask me. Also, Shai Chica, congratulations for your little brother. That's exciting. So everybody, one nice beautiful whole chicken. As always, I put it on a sheet tray overnight in the fridge because when you buy chicken from the supermarket, when you buy any kind of meat from the store, it is sopping wet inside of that plastic. The longer that it sits out, the longer that it's sitting in such a condensed, humid environment, the soggier that it gets. Air drying your meat before you begin to actually slice it and work with it makes it so much easier to work with. It's not making a mess on your cutting board, it's not spilling all over the place, and it's not slippery. So, one beautiful whole chicken. I gotta go ahead and make some space for this tray that we have here. And so for today, everybody, depending on the size of the breasts, we'll only be using the breasts. We might also debone a couple of the thighs as well. The breasts, we're not going to be doing anything crazy to. So a lot of people, when they typically make a buttered chicken, they go through like a whole marinating process. I'm just going to gently dry brine it and gently poach it inside of the sauce for today because I want my chicken breasts to stay really nice and juicy. I want to treat them very delicately. Okay, chicken breasts, they don't withstand a lot of high temperature cooking because they're so lean, because of how dry they are, because of how little fat that they have. So they really benefit mostly from just gentle cooking methods. Okay, so one beautiful whole chicken, my friends. And so the first thing that we're going to do, as always, is take off the wings. Okay, we're going to go ahead and just make a little incision where the shoulder meets the backbone of the chicken. Okay, so all we have to do, my friends, just take a nice sharp knife, and anybody can do this. You don't have to be a professional. All that we're doing, we're just making a little incision exactly where it meets the bird, and then we can just go ahead and pop out the wing, my friends. Make a little incision, make it all the way around until you can see the joint being exposed. And then once that joint is exposed, we can just go ahead and just pop it out just like this. Today was a little bit tricky, but that's okay. I didn't go deep enough. All that we did, we just carved out the wing, and let's go ahead and do the same thing with the other one. Okay, so we just take it, we make a little incision just like this, and then we pop out the rest of the wing. Just like that, my friends, nice and easy. That is now 2 chicken wings, fully intact, completely taken off. Let's go ahead and do the same thing with the legs. The legs, we just gotta pop them out of the socket. We gotta make an incision near the skin. So we make that incision, we flip it over, everybody, we pop out the joint. So you can see that the leg is already essentially ready to come off of this bird. It doesn't wanna stay on, it just wants to go. It has places to be, my friends, okay? So that leg, all that we did, we made an incision, we popped out the joint, and then it was nice and easy. Can you do that with a fresh chicken, or is it better to make when it's dried? Well, of course you can do this with like a wet chicken, right? But the reason why I air dried is just because it makes this process a little bit nicer. It makes it less messy, it makes it less sloppy. So to answer your question, Jack, of course you can. You can buy this from a chicken, you can do this with a chicken that you theoretically just bought, but if you do so, I highly recommend taking some paper towels and patting it dry. The beauty of this method of just letting it naturally air dry is that I don't need to pat it dry with paper towels. But again, of course, yeah, you don't have to. It's not going to be the end of the world if you don't, Jack, okay? So once again, popped out that leg, my friends. Really, really nice and easy. And all that I have to do now is just slice it off of the rest of the carcass for today. Although, I think I went a little bit too deep, and I got some of the bones with this one today, which, truthfully, for me, a little bit atypical. Okay, so there you go. One beautiful chicken thigh, one beautiful chicken leg, and now let's go ahead and deal with the breasts. These are the pieces, my friends, that we want to be super, super delicate with, okay? This is the part of the chicken that we want to be incredibly, incredibly gentle with, okay? We don't want to tear into this. We don't want to destroy this. So once again, nice, sharp knife. And all that we're going to do, my friends, is we're going to make a nice little incision on either side of this breastbone. So all I'm doing is just making an incision, cutting all the way through the skin, but not all the way to the bottom of the chicken breast. And then we make an L-shaped cut, okay? So this is the L, this is the long part, and this is the side part. And then, guys, we're just gonna go ahead and take our thumbs, and basically, we're gonna scrape the meat off of the rest of the carcass. The meat wants to come off. Again, when we're breaking down a chicken like this, we're never really cutting through bone or anything. All that we're doing is just gently, gently separating everything, my friends. Come take a look. All that I'm doing is I'm just scraping the rest of the flesh off of the carcass. And that way, the chicken breast comes out completely intact. You can see, right, in butchery, the idea of a clean bone means you've wasted as little as possible. This bone right here, my friends, this carcass, is as clean as possible because we have saved all of the meat right here. Okay, and so all that I'm doing now is as I'm just going through this, I'm continuing to just separate it as far as it can go. And then once we've hit the final point that it goes, all that I do from here, my friends, is just really, really gently slice off the breast. And we are left with one beautiful chicken breast, skin on. Ooh, it's got a big old fat cap on this one. That's pretty atypical for chicken. But guys, just like that, nice and easy. And you can see that the chicken tender is still attached and everything. Okay, so let's go ahead and do the same exact thing with the other side of my chicken breast. We make a little incision all the way through to the end of the skin, right, so that the skin doesn't tear, the skin doesn't stretch while we do it. And then we go ahead, we go in with a knife, and we make an L-shaped incision, just like that. We make that L-shaped cut, and everybody, all that we're doing once again is just peeling the meat off. Right? I know that we've done this so many different times on the show. I have no idea how many chickens I've broken down at this point, but the answer is quite a few. And having gloves for this step is also really nice. When you have gloves on, you don't have to worry about any meat getting stuck under your skin. Right? It just makes your life so much easier. Or under your nails. I don't know why I said skin. Ugh. I don't think I particularly want chicken flesh stuck under my skin. And these are disposable gloves. Yes, that is correct, Jay Webster. These are just some basic nitrile gloves. Okay? Took out the wishbone. And all I'm doing again, guys, just peeling it off. I did not actually preserve my chicken tender today, unfortunately. My chicken tender ended up falling off of the breast, but that's okay. So we just got to go ahead and just finish the job now. I don't think I actually cut all the way through to the end here. Hence why this one's being a little bit more stubborn today than usual. Okay? And last but not least, take that and let's go ahead and slice off the rest of the chicken breast. Beautiful. So this one, maybe not as pretty as the last time around, but we still got it at the end of the day. So guys, come take a look. 2 beautiful chicken breasts. Okay, almost fully intact. We have 2 chicken wings. We have 2 chicken thighs as well. And then we're also left with the carcass. And the chicken legs, I don't think I'm going to be using for today. We're only going to be using my breasts. Maybe also the thighs. So we're going to go ahead and process this and see how it goes. Can duck be used as chicken for a substitute? So that's a good question. And my answer for you is you can, except duck you would want to cook a little bit less. Duck really benefits from being cooked to like 140, 130, that kind of thing, depending on how good your duck is. And it's also going to be a lot fattier. So you do have to keep in mind how much fat it does end up releasing in your dish overall. So this is all of the meat that we have for today. And so I am considering just taking out the bone out of my chicken thighs just so that we have a little bit of extra meat, because I'm looking at this amount of meat, guys. I'm thinking that's not enough schmeat. So let's go ahead and do that now. And I'm going to show you exactly how easy it is to get the chicken thigh off. Okay? So everybody, come take a look. One whole chicken leg. Here's the leg. Here's the thigh. We have to just follow this fat line. You see this fat line? You see this really, really subtle fat line? We take it and we just rip it off just like that. Right? Nice and easy. We take the leg, nice and easy. Right? Everybody come take a look. You can see the fat line. You see the fat line? Here's the fat line. And we go right through it. And that way, also the Normies TV, thank you so much for the raid. How'd you find the cooking show? Welcome on in. So guys, take a look. We now have 2 beautiful chicken thighs. And now I want to take out the bone. Okay, and the reason why I'm taking out the bone is because, I'm not gonna lie, I do not like it when there is something in my food that I can't eat. I don't like it when there's shells. I don't like it when there's bones. I don't like it when people chop directly through the bone. My goal is to make the eating experience for somebody as easy as possible. Okay, and so I'm gonna go ahead and go through the effort of taking the thigh bone off. Okay, the thigh bone doesn't contribute flavor. Yes, it still has some connective tissue that can be made into a chicken stock. All it really does is slow down the process of cooking, and it makes it more inconvenient for the person to eat. Everybody, as the chef, you have to figure out how much effort do you want your guests, your customers, whoever it is that you're cooking for, how much effort do you want them to put into the process of eating it, okay? So that's why, yes, exactly. That's why I'm also very meticulous about removing the stems, right? Also, Karate Kuba, thank you so much for the sub. Lovely to have you here. So everybody, all I'm doing is I'm just shaving the meat. This part's a little bit technical, but all I'm doing is I'm just gently shaving the meat from either side of my thigh bone, okay? We're gently shaving it off, okay, until that bone just easily pops out. And now I can just use my knife here to just easily scrape it down. Also, Hacker Baby Dwight, welcome on in. It is lovely to have you here. So it's a little slippery, so be careful, especially if you have a really sharp knife like mine. But all that I'm doing, everybody, is I'm just shaving all of that meat off of the thigh, okay? Also, thank you for stopping by, Coffee. It's lovely to have you today. Okay, so guys, take a look. We have the thigh bone, as well as the rest of the thigh itself. And all that we can do is just really easily go ahead and remove it. The last thing that I'm going to do, though, to get it ready for today is I will be taking off the thigh skin and the fat because of the fact that it's not going to get crispy, because of the fact that it's all just going to be gently poaching. The skin itself can turn somewhat gummy. And I'm not looking for any gummy skin today, okay? So any excess fat or anything, we'll go ahead and take that off as well. But normally I would love to keep the chicken thighs if my goal was to get them nice and crispy. In this case today, they have to come off, okay? Also, Patrice and Lego Batman fam, welcome on in. Also, you want to try Indian food? Hacker Baby Dwight, have you never had Indian food before? Also, Patrice, thank you so much for the sub. Thank you. Right, all that we're doing, everybody, is I'm just going through either side of my chicken thigh bone here and just gently but surely shaving off all of that meat. You've never had Indian food. So the way to really think about Indian food is oftentimes you would have like a curry-based dish, right? Meaning like something sort of drenched in a type of sauce, right? And then that would be eaten with either rice or bread. Typically speaking, butter chicken tends to be one of the most beginner-friendly Indian dishes. Beginner-friendly as in somebody who has just never had Indian food before. This is also just, you know, what white people order anytime they go out. Also, thank you so much, Hexeract. How much? Thanks for telling me how much that was. Hexeract with $100 donation. Jesus Christ. Hexeract, it is lovely to have you. Thank you so much for stopping by. Hope you're having a beautiful day today. But yeah, butter chicken, a really nice way to start. Jesus Christ. We're opening off strong. Butter chicken, a really nice way to start. Otherwise, a lot of lentil dishes are some of my favorites. I love lentil dishes to death. Okay, so you really can't go wrong with any lentil dishes at all, right? Dal makhani, which is essentially just this dish except done with lentils, right? So it's like in a very like sweet and spicy tomato sauce. It's all really lovely. Okay, so this chicken thigh, a little bit tricky because I kind of got some of the backbone with it accidentally, but that's okay. And just the same as before, guys, we're gonna be plucking off that skin. Okay, we're just gonna be plucking off the skin. Chef, yeah, I saw that TikTok too, I've seen that TikTok before. Okay, and we're ripping off the skin again because it's just going to get gummy as it cooks down, and that is not what I'm looking for. And the last thing, everybody, is I'm just trimming up some little bits of cartilage that I have left over. So I'm feeling for any hard lumps, same way that you would do a breast inspection or other kinds of inspections, guys. You're feeling for any hard lumps that shouldn't be there, and then if you find it, you got to go ahead and cut it out, okay? But I think that's what a doctor does and not you. So please be careful. Okay, great. So all of this chicken skin, I unfortunately don't have much of a use for it today. Okay, and all that I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm just going to cut this up into the chunks that I would like for today. Okay, and so for today, the size of the pieces I'm looking for would be something roughly like this. We're looking for something that can easily fit onto a forkful while we eat it. And Jack, I'm not going to make crispy chicken skin today. That is just not going to happen. It's a little annoying. It's a little bit of effort, and I'm not willing to put in that much into this today. Okay, so guys, all of my chicken thighs, all of my chicken thighs are nicely cut up. Let's go ahead and do the same thing to the chicken breasts and to the chicken tenders. So we take a chicken breast. We're going to go ahead and just take off that skin, rip it off, get it out of here, because again, my friends, we don't want that skin to turn gummy on us today while we cook it. Okay, and we'll go ahead and do the same thing with the other one. Take it and just rip it off, my friends, all the way through. I know we're spending so much time on the chicken breaking down today. We just have a lot of steps that we need to get done. Okay, and now here's what we're going to do. We're going to remove the chicken tender from the rest of the breast, and I'm going to show you how to actually remove the tendon. The chicken tender has like this really, really tough tendon that is running all the way through it. And we can actually get it out of there using a little trick with a fork. Normally just makes it a little bit tougher, it makes it a little bit chewier, and that is not what I want today. So as for the rest of my chicken, I'm just going to go ahead and slice it in half lengthwise like so. And then I'm just going to go ahead and cut it up into relatively even-sized chunks, everybody. You really want to make sure that you have even-sized chunks, because if you don't, you're going to have some parts that are overcooked and dry, and you're going to have some parts that are undercooked and really, really thick, okay? So that's that one, and let's also do this one. Let's take them and cut them in half lengthwise and just chunk them up, my friends. Chunk them up until we have all of our lovely little chicken pieces. And then last but not least, guys, we're going to go ahead and get these chicken tenders prepped and ready to go as well for today. So I'm going to need to go ahead and change out my gloves. And I'm going to show you guys something. I need everybody's attention for this. I need to hear a nice yes, chef, please and thank you. Okay? So we're going to grab a fork, and we're also going to grab some gloves again and a paper towel. Okay, so again, the chicken tender is normally the softest part of the chicken. It is incredibly delicate. It is really, really lovely. Okay, but the biggest issue that it has is that it has this super, super tough tendon that is running all the way through it. And so, a very nice way to get it out would be if you have some tweezers. Now, if you don't want to use tweezers for this, that's totally fine too. Everybody, here's what we do. We take a fork. All that we need to do is we grab this tendon, we take the fork, and we have the fork prongs in between the tendon. So you can see how it grabs it. Okay, and now, all that we do is we just push out with our fork, and out comes this chicken tendon. And this might seem like a very, very small step, okay? But it actually really significantly improves the texture of the tendon. It makes it so much more easy to eat. Okay, so let's go ahead and do the same thing with the next one. Okay, all that we do, my friends, we just go in there and we stab that tendon with my fork, or rather not stab it, but we just want to go around it essentially. Okay, and then we grab the tendon and then we just pull it out, my friends. We pull it out while facing up, and we are left with this little guy right here that is just going to be really, really tough and chewy otherwise. And we do not want that for today. Okay, so we're making the most out of the meat. You don't have to do this step if you don't want to, but I really do truly think that it makes a significant, significant difference. And I'm just going to take each of my chicken tenders and slice them in half. So we have this big, beautiful collection of meat, my friends. We have chicken thighs, chicken breasts, chicken tenders as well. And this is all going to be the schmeat for today's butter chicken. Okay, the only thing that we have left to really do is we need to dry brine it. We're going to season it with salt, and I'll talk about the function of that in just a second. We'll talk about why we're doing that. And in the meantime, I'm going to just go ahead and put the rest of my chicken pieces away. So I'm just going to grab a little freezer bag, a little Ziploc bag, and put that in my fridge. Okay, so we'll just take a second to clean up, right, because I'm going to need that sheet tray to dry brine them. So everybody, dry brining is a really, really important cooking technique. All that dry brining is, it's essentially a fancy term for seasoning something with salt in advance and letting it sit. And dry brining does a couple of things. The first thing that it does, obviously, is that it seasons it with salt. A really, really big problem with just seasoning salt on the outside and not letting it sit is that all of that salt is on the outside and then the inside becomes completely bland. okay? So how many times have you had like a really, really thick roast? Everybody, how many times have you had like a really, really thick piece of meat and on the outside it was like beautiful and spiced and seasoned, but then on the inside it was just completely bland and you needed it with some sauce? Well, you'd want to get some of this chicken skin or something. How many of times has that happened to you? I want to hear a nice me chef if you've experienced such a phenomenon. Okay, and all I'm here to say is it doesn't actually need to be that way. Because of the fact that salt is water soluble, it ends up penetrating the chicken through the process of osmosis. Okay, and the second thing that it does is it actually yields a juicier chicken product as well. It yields a juicier chicken because it increases its ability to retain moisture. Right? And that might seem counterintuitive because you would think, oh, salt pulls out liquid. Why does it make it juicier? Well, it pulls out some liquid, but it increases the amount of liquid that the chicken is able to hold on to while it cooks. So by dry browning it, by letting it sit with salt for a couple of hours or even 30 minutes to an hour in advance, what ends up happening is you just end up with a much, much juicier piece of chicken and a much more seasoned one. This is my chicken that I'm not going to use for today at all, so it'll just go into my fridge. And then we'll go ahead and get this chicken ready, okay? So let's go ahead and get that ready, everybody. So just bear with me one moment, please, and thank you. We gotta go ahead and get rid of this cutting board because we have no more use for it at the moment. So I'll just be setting that aside with some camera magic. And now we need to generously season all of my little chicken chunks with salt. And a lot of traditional buttered chicken recipes, you would see people do a whole marinating process. I don't think it's necessary, but I do think the dry brining process is super, super important. Okay, so let's go ahead and grab just some tongs, just so that we can easily lay out everything nice and flat, so that we can evenly season up all of our chicken pieces, my friends. This is once again my chicken thighs, my chicken breasts, my chicken tenders, skins and tendons, and all the parts that we don't want to eat removed. Okay, and I do believe that that looks pretty good. Okay, so everybody, when we season this with salt, we want to make sure that we're seasoning from up high, because if you season a little too close, what's going to end up happening is the impact radius is a lot smaller and you get a lot more really concentrated parts of salt. To evenly season something with salt, my friends, go nice and up high, nice and high, just like this. And this way, we really get to ensure that every single little chunk of chicken that we have is getting nicely and evenly seasoned, okay? So nice and up high, everybody's getting a little bit of love because you don't want to leave any of them behind. You don't want any of them to feel isolated and alone, okay? Have them all join the party. Have them all have a little bit of fun with this. And I'm just gonna go through this and individually flip every single one of my lovely chicken chunks, okay? So each and every single one, they've got to get flipped because they've still got to all be seasoned up. So it might be a little bit annoying, might be a little bit tedious. Chat, you wish that was you? That's right. Tarina, thank you for mentioning it. I was about to say it, and then you did it for me. So thank you for keeping up. Okay, and another nice big pinch of salt, everybody. Nice and up high. Go to every single little chunk of chicken and just make sure that it's all evenly seasoned. And so once again, everybody, not only does the dry brining yield a juicier piece of meat, but it also leads to an evenly seasoned one. I don't just want my gravy. I don't just want all of the sauce surrounding the chicken to be salty. I want the inside of it to be nicely and properly seasoned as well. Okay, so does anybody have any questions for me? In the meantime, I'm just gonna put this into my fridge until we're ready to cook. But ideally, we would let this go for at least an hour or so. An hour or so, and it's gonna have those effects that we're looking for. Ooh. Yeah, my throat feels a little bit funny from today. So I might be talking less than usual, which, you know, I yap a lot, I talk a lot. For me to not talk a lot is incredibly unusual for me. Okay, so let's go ahead and get another cutting board all ready to go for today. And then everybody, of course, because of the fact that we're cooking at home, you know what that means. We have to clean as we go. So I'm gonna go ahead and just put my cutting board into the dishwasher. My sink is empty, my dishwasher is empty, and I'll be washing off my knife. Okay, so chat, behave while I do a couple dishes. Okay, so grab some gloves, wash everything off, just make sure that everything is all ready to go for today. And then we have a lot of prep that we need to do. All that we did so far, my friends, is we broke down a whole chicken, we seasoned up the chicken breast, the chicken thighs, as well as the chicken tenders, and now we have to build all of the spices, we have to build the gravy. We have so much that we need to get done for today, okay? So, is everybody watching? I want to hear a nice yes chef. I'm gonna go ahead and take care of my knife. and my cutting board really quickly while I have a moment of time. And just throw all of that into the dishwasher, out of sight and out of mind. No need to worry about it again. We replaced the cutting board already. And last but not least, I just gotta wash off this knife. Nice and gently, get all the little chunks off of it. So I apologize if anybody said anything to me in chat at the moment, because right now I'm too preoccupied with cleaning this little guy off. And everybody, again, this is the importance of cleaning as you go. Because when you cook at home, dishes can really, really easily pile up. When you cook at home and those dishes pile up, you become later on disincentivized, I suppose. You become disincentivized to actually cook again. And the best way to be able to manage this, guys, is to get into the habit of cleaning as you go and really, really setting up that routine. Make it as painless for you as possible, because I'm not gonna lie, I cannot stand washing dishes. Unless you're really like that, the only times I enjoy washing dishes are sometimes when I'm by myself at home and I turn on the music, right, and nobody told me to do it. That's the best time to do it, and I'm sometimes able to enjoy that. But otherwise, I'm not gonna say that washing dishes is a remotely enjoyable activity. So all I'm really teaching you guys is how to make it as painless as possible. Some of you may have fun with it, but I will say the dishes is one of the biggest reasons people don't cook at home. It is one of the biggest reasons. And so I want to teach you all how to get a little bit less wasteful with the amount of dishes that we use. I want to teach you all how to clean as you go. I want to teach you all of these responsible things, because that way you'll get into the habit of cooking more, right? If it's for the ultimate goal of cooking more, we have to figure out how to make doing dishes as painless as possible. Well, I'm glad that it's calming for you, Jack. Sometimes, after a long day though, I don't want to do dishes. I want as little dishes to do as possible. And so that is everything that I'm teaching you guys. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and have a little sip of water, and we can continue with everything else we need to do. Okie dokie. So let's go ahead and talk about the rest of the butter chicken base. We have to talk about the vegetables, and we also have to talk about the spices, because it would not be Indian cooking, it would not be Indian food without spices. Okay, so I have my cutting board all set up and ready to go once again. Okay. And my knife has now been nicely washed off. So everybody, let's talk about all the different things that we have here. So the tomatoes are gonna be the basis for the butter chicken, okay? The tomatoes are gonna be really, really the base of it. And so something that I love doing that is not necessarily traditional to Indian cooking is I love charring my tomatoes before I add them to something. This is inspiration that I've taken from Mexican cooking. It adds a really lovely dimension of a smoky taste to it, right? And that smokiness is just always so welcome, especially in rich, spicy stews. Also, Zuma Lavo, it has been so long. Welcome on in. So guys, we have all of these lovely tomatoes. The cucumbers will be for the raita. The onions will be for, of course, the curry, the garlic and the ginger paste, and some serrano chilies. But right now, we have to go ahead and get all of my lovely tomatoes prepped. Okay, so as always, everybody, what are the best tomatoes to cook with? The tomatoes that are the cheapest for you to get your hands on. I have some plum tomatoes, and then I have 2 vine tomatoes. These are the 2 vine tomatoes that I had at home that I wanted to use up for today. And so that was some of my inspiration for actually doing this dish. I had vine tomatoes, and I wanted to use them up before they go bad. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to heat up our broiler. And we're going to heat up our broiler because the goal is to char these tomatoes, everybody. Is this a necessary step? Do you have to do this? The answer is no. But if you want that extra smoky taste, if you want that extra oomph, this is a lovely thing to do. Is my knife more finessed? So, I'm not sure what you're asking me. Okay, so we have all of these lovely tomatoes, guys, and all that we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and get the woody core out of the tomatoes. So we take the tomato and we slice them in half, each of them lengthwise, directly in half. Oh, look at that beautiful plum tomato. She's curvy, isn't she? She's got like some real definition, okay? And go ahead and slice that in half, and slice that in half, and slice that in half. And I don't really know if I need this many tomatoes for today, but because I already have it, let's go ahead and use them all. And so as always, everybody, we want to remove the core out of the tomato. The reason why we want to get the core out is because it's a little bit woody, it's a little bit fibrous, it's not a very pleasant texture indeed. Okay, so just take it and slice the cores out, take it and slice the cores out, and just get through it, my friends. Okay, each and every single one, out they go. Just 2 little diagonal incisions, Nice and easy, just like this, okay? And again, the reason why we take out the core is ultimately just because it's a little bit woody, it's a little bit fibrous, it doesn't really have anything to contribute. Theoretically, you can leave it in, and if it's a really, really small tomato, something like a cherry tomato, then you don't have to do this step at all, right? It'd be completely impractical. However, if you were to do a beefsteak tomato, which you shouldn't cook with because of how wet they are, but theoretically, if you were to take this out with a beefsteak tomato, that is where I think it is even probably the most important. On something like a beefsteak tomato, I'm gonna outright say that it's almost inedible. That is just how woody, that is just how tough it is. So now that we've gotten rid of all of the cores, excuse me for hitting my microphone. Now that I've gotten rid of all of the cores out of my tomatoes, my friends, we're just gonna go ahead and stack it up onto a little sheet tray and into the broiler it goes. Does anybody have any questions about this? This is, again, I know this is a step, this is a process that I've done so many different times on the stream, on the show, but I love doing it each time, and I think this is a really, really welcome step. It just gives everything that extra little bit of oomph. It is not necessary, it is not life or death for the kind of dish that you're making, but it really does elevate it. And I want to elevate home cooking. I want to push home cooking. Home cooking doesn't just have to always be really, really simple and really, really bland. It can be exciting, it can be flavorful, and it can also sometimes be technical. And this is one of my favorite techniques, charring those vegetables. So all of these tomatoes, guys, we're gonna go ahead and put it under the broiler. So the goal is to get the skins nice and blackened. We want to get it nice and charred. The broiler is a super, super hot heating element on top of the oven, and it's gonna go ahead and char it. With what are tomato varieties, do we need to manage the moisture differently at the broiling stage? Tarina, I'm going to say no, because all of the surface moisture will just sort of end up evaporating really quickly. Okay, also, Maud, can we get that bot out of here, please? Can we please go ahead and get that banned? That's like what low tier God would say, right? Get that ass banned, right? Thank you, Dosky. Really appreciate it. Okay, dokie. So that was my tomatoes. My tomatoes are now officially going. And I suppose in the meantime, we can do prep for a couple of the other things that we needed for today. So we have some chilies. One of the chilies will be used for the raita, and the other chili is just going to be used directly inside of the curry itself. Okay, so I'm going to use this big chili for the curry. We're also going to be slicing up this onion. I have 1.5 onions. Everybody, when it comes to cooking, when it comes to alliums that you're using, they're all mostly interchangeable. You can use shallots, you can use red onions, you can use leeks, and then you can have a lot of creativity with it, and you can have a lot of fun with that kind of process, okay? And then last but not least, we'll also be making some garlic ginger paste. Okay, but we'll get to that all in just a moment. I'm gonna just take all of this stuff and set it all behind me because we don't need it immediately or anything. Just take care of a couple of the scraps that are left over on my cutting board. And so everybody, with today specifically, everything is gonna get blended down. This sauce, this curry base that we're building for the buttered chicken, all of it is gonna get blended nice and smooth. And so as a result, it doesn't actually matter for us to have 100% perfect knife cuts. Okay, so we're just gonna chunk this up into a medium dice or so, chunk it up, get it ready to go for sauteing, but otherwise we're not gonna do anything crazy with it, okay? So let's go ahead and begin that process. Now, everybody, I already have this onion half. We'll just be peeling the skin off of it. Okay, and we can slice it, we can chop it. Honestly, again, the way that we process this doesn't actually really matter. We just don't want to put in a lot of time. We don't want to put in a lot of effort because it's all going to get blended down. The times that you do want to put in effort is when, you know, you're doing something like a salad or when you really want to specifically have beautiful chunks in something. Okay, so let's also just cut off, yeah, I'm gonna cut off the root end of this onion as well, and we'll just be doing a little slice, nice and easy. Okay, so cut off that root, awesome. Slice it in half lengthwise, and then peel up that skin, everybody. Just peel it up, get it all, as always, into my waste bowl. When you're cooking, you always want to have a waste bowl next to your cutting board. Because if you don't have a waste bowl, your countertop, your cutting board, all of it is just going to fill up with a bunch of scraps and things that you don't want to eat. It becomes messy, and then you're always carrying things to the trash can. So it is so much easier to have all of that waste consolidated inside of a little waste bowl. Okay, now what would be a nice two-bowl system would be to also have a scrap bowl. Things like vegetable scraps, that would be really, really nice to save for something like a chicken stock, right? I haven't gone to the habit of doing that quite yet, but I think I would like to do that sometime soon. Okay, so we have 1.5 onions here. Everybody, the amount of onions that you're using for a dish like this doesn't matter. You can't ever have too many onions, okay? And all that I'm really gonna do here is I'm just gonna look for a slice, not too thin, right? Because I don't want to put in that much effort, but not so thick that it actually won't saute in time, right? So a medium slice, I'm going to say, is the sweet spot for today. And we're going parallel. But again, the way that you cut this onion for today doesn't actually matter. You can cut this any way you like, my friends. Any way, it will still come out perfect because it's all going to get blended down. It's all still going to get sauteed. So I don't care if these knife cuts aren't perfect. Also, Patricia, thank you for the reminder. I'll go ahead and have a little sip of water. Thank you very much. Okay, and so let's go ahead and do this with this little guy as well. Okay, take it and just chop it up, my friends. Get it all ready to go for today. And we'll go ahead and transfer that to this plate. And this plate is what's going to contain all of the ingredients that need to end up getting sauteed. Okay? And so, everybody, normally, for my mise en place, right? Mise en place is a very important concept in the kitchen. Mise en place basically is getting all of your different things ready before you actually cook with it, you have it assembled. I used to try to put a bunch of things all into different bowls. Now, as nice and organized as that was, the issue was you produce that much more of a mess. Okay, you produce that many more dirty dishes. And so, the way that I've adapted my mise en place at home, really basic adjustment, is by using a plate that is wide enough to hold different things. Okay, so in this case, for instance, I'll have my chilies here because the chilies don't need to get added at the same time as the onions. And then I'll have my things of spices and garlic ginger paste on the other side. And that way, we're not going through a million little bowls or anything. So, big old Serrano chili, my friends. Again, this is not the chili that is traditionally used within Indian cooking, but all chilies are somewhat interchangeable, and so this is what I have available to me. That's what it means to cook at home. You replace things with what you currently have available to you. And all of my chilies are currently running off my cutting board. So, I'm doing a medium slice here, because again, the actual size of it, the actual chunk of it, does not matter to everybody. It only matters if you need to keep it really beautiful for something, but in my case, it's all gonna get blended down, and I want my butter chicken to be nice and spicy. Okay, so one Serrano chili, and in the meantime, we should go ahead and check on the tomatoes. Okay, so let's go ahead and see how my tomatoes are doing. Let's see how they're charring along. Let's see how they're coming along. Just pop them out of the oven. Out of the broiler rather. Okay, and as you guys can see, we're beginning to get some amount of that charring developed. Okay, but that is not enough. I want it to be thoroughly smoky. I want it smoky. I want it to really, really flavor the dish today. So we're not half-assing it. We're going all the way with it, my friends. We're going all the way in. And we really, really want to blacken it. Okay? Chef implying that I'm not weird for using death spiral pepper when the recipe says poblano. Tarina, don't take me so literally. Although you can, and then you will simply just not have that good of a time, I think. Okie dokie. And so, as far as the vegetables for the butter chicken and other components that we need to chop and prep go, really the only thing that's left is doing the garlic ginger paste. And now everybody, this is an essential part of Indian cooking, of Bangladeshi cooking, of Pakistani cooking. Okay, the garlic ginger paste is seen basically in almost every single savory dish. Okay, so a lot of people, right, you can go to your local like South Asian grocery store and they'll sell garlic ginger paste in a jar or in a can. I don't do that. And the reason why I don't do that and I don't use that is because I don't make this kind of food nearly often enough to justify it. But for the people that do make it really, really often, here is my suggestion for you. If you don't want to buy stuff that's already pre-made, make a big batch of this. Make a big batch of it and freeze it in ice cubes or something. And that way you'll always have it ready anytime you want to make Indian, Pakistani, Bangladeshi cooking, or even sometimes Turkish cooking as well. Okay, so it'll just be there for you. It'll just be available for you. So, you know, it really, really depends. And that is what I talk about when I mention building up your own pantry, building up ingredients that you use a lot. If you make, let's say, Latin American cooking all the time, you might want to make a lot of sofrito ahead of time. Let's say you make Dominican food all the time. You want to have like your pepper, your cilantro, your tomato, your onion paste all ready to go in advance. And that's what a lot of different households do. They have their sofrito ready to go. In my case, because of the fact that I'm jumping around between so many different cuisines, it's hard to get, you know, a bunch of staples that are used for everything, and that's why we're making it ourselves today. So all that I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm just going to go ahead and get a couple of garlic cloves out and ready to go for today. And when I say a couple, I do mean a substantial amount, because everybody, you can't have too much garlic, can you? I want to hear a nice no, chef. You can't have too much garlic, and I love the garlic in my garlic ginger paste. Although I will say this garlic actually looks a little icky today. For whatever reason, some of these pieces are like, ugh, somewhat dirty, somewhat molded. I don't really know what's going on here. So all I'm doing, I'm just breaking it up. I'm getting a couple of the cloves out, all ready to go for today. And then we gotta check out the tomatoes, because then the tomatoes will be perfectly charred and smoky and all ready to go for today. Okay, and I'm gonna say right now, that is going to be a perfect amount of garlic, okay? And I do mean a lot of garlic. Chef will become immune to cyanide. Why is that? Wait, what does that have to do with anything, Tulina? Is there something with garlic and cyanide? Okay, so all my garlic has been prepped. Let's go ahead and take another look at the tomatoes and let's see how far they have actually even come. And I've got to say, guys, that is not looking like a really good char. Also, thank you so much for the prime subs, Io. Thank you. Hope you're having a beautiful day today. So, those are my tomatoes, guys. Nice and charred, nice and blackened, okay, nice and smoky. All right, and that is perfect for what we need today. Okay, and we're gonna be blending it down, and it's going to just give this gravy, it's gonna give that sauce that little bit of extra oomph. Okay, and with that extra oomph, it's gonna be that much more flavorful and it's gonna be that much more delicious. Okay, so we're not gonna need that guy for a while. And all that we need to do now, my friends, is process all of this garlic. And this might seem like a lot of garlic, but truthfully, there is no such thing as too much garlic for me in my home kitchen. I love garlic to death. You can choose how much garlic you want to use in your garlic ginger paste, but I love garlic to death. And so, I want the deep, strong flavors today, my friends. So here's what we do. We're gonna take each garlic clove and smash it down. And we use a bench scraper to smash it down because when we flatten it, we separate the skin from the clove, okay? We're putting down all of our weight onto the garlic. This separates the skin from the clove and allows us to easily peel it. The classical French way with a paring knife, it is so much effort, it is so laborious, it is such a waste of time. This is so much easier by comparison. And so you can take a look what happens now. Each of my lovely garlic cloves, they just pop out like there's no tomorrow. Like it's nothing, okay? Ooh, and this quarter, that one is sticking out slightly, so we'll pop that one out. And we'll just go through all of these garlic cloves, my friends. Pop it out. This one's being a little bit more stubborn than the other ones, but you can see just how easy it was to peel up all of that garlic. Okay, and why do I use fresh garlic and not jarred garlic? Some of it is a matter of principle. And the reality is this, even if it doesn't seem like a lot of waste, the reality is, ooh, this garlic's kind of nasty. We're gonna get rid of that one. The reality is, buying already jarred garlic, already canned garlic, it already comes inside of plastic packaging, and it just feels like unnecessary waste and unnecessary convenience when prepping garlic is actually not all that difficult. Okay, and so a very general rule of thumb that I have is if you guys can do it yourself at home and it's either cheaper or more efficient or it's less wasteful, then you should absolutely do it. Okay, so I don't buy garlic that's already been peeled because garlic has already its own natural protector. It already has its own skin, keeping it nice and safe. So the only thing I'm going to do now is I'm just going to go ahead and remove any of these dirty spots. I just think it's like some dirt that somehow got in under the skin, which happens sometimes with alliums. It sometimes happens with onions. And we just trim it off. We just trim it off. We trim off each one. But yeah, everybody, again, with capitalism, we're being sold so many different things that we don't need. Solutions to problems that honestly were never problems to begin with. Prepping and peeling garlic doesn't have to be so difficult. That took a second for us to do. That took a second for us to get the skins off. And we didn't have to waste any plastic in the process. Okay? So if you can, try to do it yourselves. Chef, are avocados a good food or are they too hyped? Well, Jack, hold on. There is no such thing as a bad food or good food. All food is just food. Avocados are really, really delicious. I love avocados to death. Okay? However, they did get hyped up a lot just purely as a West Coast trend. There was a little bit of cultural diffusion that took place where people just started taking avocados and doing a lot of different things with them. And then avocados got really, really expensive as a result. So the hype and the trend around avocados in a way is really sad because avocados didn't always have to be that expensive. And so that trend really has sort of died out in recent time, which is great. And they're delicious. It's just people definitely romanticize them. I would even argue to the extent of almost fetishizing avocados. Right? People would do avocados in everything. So, I mean, they're good. But Jack, at the end of the day, there's no such thing as good food and bad food. And I don't think that's a very useful lens to view food as. Now, there's food with unethical origins, right? That is the only thing that I would say is bad food, right? For example, the fact that we are slaughtering animals for our meat, which is what we're doing today. That is the only food that I'll ever say is bad, or food that was somehow grown or manufactured with you know, like really, really unethical means or so, right? But almost all of our produce, unless it's organic or comes from a farm that you know, is made with unethical means at some point or another. There is usually somebody being exploited down this food chain, okay? So there's no such thing as good food, there's no such thing as bad food. There is food with unethical sources and origins, but all ingredients in a culinary sense are fine. You eat one whole avocado every day? Sorry, Taza, there is no redemption for you. You are now condemned for the rest of your life. Okay? So, we take it and we process each and every single one of our garlic cloves, guys. We take it and we push it all the way through. Chef, what are your thoughts regarding GMOs? Oh, that is an amazing question for me, Drem. So let me give you my answer right now. What are my thoughts regarding GMOs? So, it's very conflicting, and there's a lot of different perspectives here that we need to consider. The first is copyrighting Monsanto, big agriculture companies, and sort of copyrighting products. Here's the thing. GMO foods, by all means, are very, very important. We have been able to sort of make varietals that do last a little bit longer. We're able to feed more people theoretically with the increased amount of abundance. Genetically modifying foods, there is this entire health scare that's almost like pseudo-religious, where people go like, oh, this is wrong, you shouldn't mess with food on a genetic level. And the reality is, even crossbreeding is considered, right, taking like two different plants and then, you know, just sort of crossbreeding them for their genes, that's considered to be a GMO. So there's nothing wrong with GMOs in of themselves, right? In fact, they're very, very important. They serve a very important function. However, the real problem is everything that goes alongside GMOs, especially when it comes to the big companies. GMO seeds are copyrighted, right? And people are specifically not allowed to grow them. They're not allowed to take certain produce, take the seeds out of it, and grow their own, right? There's a specific type of pink pineapple where they take off the leaves so that people can't steal it and grow it themselves. And that's what oftentimes happens with GMO foods, and then Monsanto goes after small farms, and it's this whole insane thing. So, no, there's absolutely nothing wrong on an ethical level with genetically modifying our food, right? But there is in how corporations and different companies have, oh man, they have done some real devastation with it. But there's real problems with monocropping, meaning like you only grow the same crop in one area, and the implications that has on the environment and the different species of insects and how that like really, really damages the land. So we have a lot of very bad agricultural practices, especially in the United States and globally. But GMOs by themselves are not the problem. Genetically modifying something in of itself, in isolation, never has been the problem with agriculture. It has just been everything else alongside it. People prioritizing profits, right? Also, Louis Jesus, you're not late at all. We're right in the beginning. We started at 5 o'clock. So all that we did so far is we broke down a chicken, and now we're making the garlic ginger paste for the butter chicken today. Okay, so I'm gonna have a little sip of water, and then we'll focus on the ginger. Okay. So everybody, a bunch of garlic, because you can't have too much garlic. And then I also have here some lovely ginger, because at the end of the day, you cannot, and I will repeat, you cannot have Indian food, you cannot have Indian cooking without garlic ginger paste, okay? It is everywhere in Indian food. So all that we're going to do is we're just going to be gently peeling off all of the skin, because we don't want any of the skin. I almost accidentally cut myself again because I don't have that much space, I feel like, on this thing of ginger. Okay, so I'm going to be a little bit more careful to not actually hurt myself in this process. Although what I'm doing right now is probably not the best technique. Maybe stabbing it with a fork would be ideal, okay? And then I think I'm gonna just use a microplane for this today. So let's see. Can I get this done a little bit easier like this? And the answer is somewhat. Some people, they just use spoons. Don't hurt my paws? Okay, I'll be careful, I promise. I'll be careful. Okay, almost done. Just peeling it up. Yeah, a spoon would have probably been easier than doing this method, but I didn't want to get a spoon out. I'm just going to use my knife that I already have out and ready to go for it today. As dangerous as it may be. Okay. Almost all of the skin has now officially come off. Just a little bit more to go, my friends. Okay, that's it. I've had enough. Goodbye. I'm going to waste a little bit of ginger. I've had enough of this process. Yes, I could have taken a spoon to peel it. Yes, I could have done the Reddit ginger peeling method, right, that everybody's been talking about for years, that you can use a spoon. But I'll just get rid of a little bit myself. Okay. And there we go. That should now be a mostly peeled piece of ginger, everybody. And so I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of all of these little ginger scraps. All of that off of my cutting board because we don't want it anything. We don't want it anything else later on. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and grab my microplane. And we got to go ahead and make this garlic ginger paste. Now, if you're doing a big batch of this, a food processor is going to be ideal. With this amount of ginger, you can't put this in a food processor or anything, okay? Because it's just going to get stuck. Also, Godzilla's, welcome on in. It's lovely to have you. So we can use a microplane. We can use a knife. The reason why I'm using a microplane is just because it's so much easier than a knife. And all I'm going to do, guys, is just go through the ginger. Go through it and grate it down. Although, I will say with this small of a piece of ginger, this actually might be more difficult than I thought it is. I really don't want to microplane my fingertips. So we'll be gentle. Guys, I'm risking it all today for you all. I'm being dangerous in the kitchen, which maybe not the best thing to show off, but that's okay. So just go slow. Don't go too fast with this. Make sure they have a nice good grip on the thing that you're trying to grate down, because if you don't, it's just going to slip out of your hands. Go nice and straight. A little skin won't ruin the dish, chef. Well, I'm glad that it won't, Louie. I'd risk it all for you, chef. Guys, please don't. Please don't do anything too dangerous in the kitchen for me. Okay, so gotta keep it going. Wow, I actually don't feel like it's all that efficient. And I don't like a lot of ginger, I will say. I find that oftentimes a 1-to-1 ratio of garlic to ginger is not my ideal. I kind of like 1.5 to 2 times the amount of garlic as I do ginger. Typically people in their garlic ginger pastes, they do a 1-to-1 ratio. It is completely up to you. I just don't like too much. Okay. So, no, I don't want to be responsible. I guess the only way I could be like really good about this is if I explicitly told people and showed people what to do instead. But I really, really don't want to chop ginger because chopping it by hand, we're gonna have to chop the rest of this piece on the twig. Oh, woe is me. My life is so difficult, everybody. Ginger in here. Looks like we're going to have to do it anyways. Oh, I'm so annoyed about this. I hate slicing ginger. I think slicing ginger is incredibly annoying, but it's fine. It'll be okay. So everybody, here's what we're gonna do. The ginger, it's rolling around. We're going to go ahead and flatten it. Also, in regards to supplements, Jack, here's the thing. Most people don't need to be taking any kind of supplements whatsoever. Most supplements and that, wellness industry is a really, really big scam. So guys, we flattened it, and now I'm just gonna chop it into some nice lengths. Okay, nice little lengths like this. We take the ginger and we go ahead and we stack it up, and we go ahead and we try to pursue a very, very nice little delicate mince, my friends. Just mince it up, mince it up, mince it up, and mince it up. Okay, and we'll go back through it a few more times until we get the size that we need. We're not chopping it. We are slicing it still. I promise you I'm not chopping here. Okay, so we're running a knife through all of this until we get the desired consistency. Okay. And we're not going to need too much for today. And some of this I'll be using for the raita. Thoughts on apple cider vinegar? Drum? I mean, sure. I mean, I like it. It's used in cooking sometimes. Once again, the wellness industry took in apple cider vinegar and they convinced people that they just need to be drinking it straight up because it's good for them. And they're taking advantage of people that are especially chronically ill and paranoid about different things in their own health. And so they say that this is going to help them in some way, and it really doesn't. But otherwise, I mean, it's delicious, right? Okay, a few more times all the way through. And this will be perfect for us. Okay? And everybody, I'm going to say that that is just the right amount of ginger. And so, half of this I'm going to be setting aside for my raita, for my yogurt sauce, for my cucumber yogurt sauce. And then the rest of it is going to go towards the garlic ginger paste for the chicken today. So guys, garlic ginger paste, because once again, you can't really have Indian cooking without it. The rest of this is going to go into a different bowl, and in this different bowl, we'll be making the final raita. So I'll just go ahead and get that inside now, and set that aside, set that behind us. We're not gonna need any more ginger today, so everybody please say thank you to Mr. Ginger. He's already done the job that we needed to. Okay, so what have we accomplished so far? We've broken down a whole chicken, we charred some tomatoes, we sliced the onion, we sliced the serrano, and we also made a garlic ginger paste. We have the serrano in here for the heat, we have the onions because you can't cook without onions, right? It's gonna make the gravy nice and sweet. And then we have the garlic ginger paste for the aroma. The last things that we need, everybody, for the curry itself is gonna be the spice mix. The spice mix is one of the most essential parts of Indian cooking, my friends. And we have a lot that we need to get through. The only thing I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to quickly wash this off so that the ginger doesn't stick and dry. Because then it's going to become impossible to clean up after. So just rinse it off. Rinse it off, rinse it off, rinse it off. And so, you and I, my friends, we will begin talking about all of the different spices that we will need for today in just a second. Lovely. So, let's go ahead and get some of those out now, and we'll talk about each of their functions and why we're using them. And this is one of the things that most people that, hey, let's say somebody is cooking Indian food for the first time, this is one of the things that people get the most intimidated about, because it can be a little bit difficult to stock up on all of the different spices that you need. Indian cooking uses, truthfully, a lot of different spices that not necessarily every single other cuisine uses. And so, let's talk about actually building up that stock, and let's talk about some of the different things that we have and what we'll be doing with them. Okay, so everybody, these are some coriander seeds. Coriander seeds, they add a really, really nice herbaceousness into everything, okay? Cumin seeds, maybe my favorite spice of all time. Really earthy, really delicious. They really ground everything, okay? You can't have a spice mix like this without any cumin, and we have plenty of it. Okay, next, we have some yellow mustard seeds for flavor. Next, one of the most essential spices, everybody, is the fenugreek. The fenugreek itself, it is incredibly aromatic, it's incredibly allium-y. Okay, this is what we finish the curry with. Fenugreek, one of my favorite spices, I love it to death. Next, we also have some cloves. It's gonna add like a real licoriceiness. We have some chilies, which is gonna add some fruity flavor from the chilies, as well as some spice. We have some garam masala. Garam masala is a big spice mix that gets added at the end so that we emphasize different flavors. Okay, and then last but not least, what are my cardamom pods? We also have some cardamom pods, which actually taste quite similar, I think, to cloves. They add some licoriceiness. So some spices need to get fried, some spices need to get added at the end. Okay, everybody, I need your full attention. I need to hear yes, chef. I need to make sure that you're listening through this part. We add spices at different stages of the cooking process, and let me explain to you why. Okay, so this has to do with sort of the evaporation of different flavors, and this also has to do with fat solubility and water solubility. By frying spices separately in oil, what happens is we infuse the oil with that flavor, okay, and then we also get a little bit more warmth as we toast the spices and the flavor changes. We don't want to do that with all of our spices. Specifically, garam masala gets added at the end so that you get a lot more of the fresh taste of spices. We add fenugreek at the end so that we get all the fresh taste of the fenugreek. But things like things like the chilies, things like the coriander seeds, things like the cloves, all of them, they get fried in with the oil so that it infuses the oil and really flavors the dish. So if you've ever wondered, why do certain spices get added at different stages of the cooking process? This is why. Okay, so not all spices get added in at the same time, my friends, and each one does get treated a little bit differently, and we get different effects from adding it at different stages. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that now. And also let's talk about a little creative choice that I've made. One of my least favorite things that I talked about before is biting into something that you can't eat in a bowl of food. Specifically, guys, how many times have you had a stew or a soup or even Indian food and you've bitten into a clove, and you've bitten into a pot of cardamom, and you've bitten into a black peppercorn? How many times has that happened to you? I think it sucks. I think it is one of the most unpleasant experiences imaginable. So we're gonna do something that not everybody always does, which is we're gonna be grinding it down into our own spice blend. Okay, and so most people, what they do is, traditionally, they would sort of fry these spices whole in the beginning, and then you would have a bunch of like little tiny bits that you can't really chew on, and I hate it. I hate that experience. I think it is incredibly unpleasant. So let's go ahead and toast the spices. We're gonna toast them to really warm them up, then we're gonna grind it into a powder, okay? So, I don't know what to do with all that cardamom pod husk. I feel like it's better to take it off before toasting, but nobody does. Honestly, it gets ground down anyways. So, we don't have to do anything with it at all. We're gonna do 2 pods of cardamom. Again, the cardamom and the clove, you wanna go very light on. Okay? The cardamom and the clove, they tend to be very intense. They can easily become overpowering. And so, we're only doing just a few cloves and just 2 pods of cardamom. Okay, these are the spices that I want to go the least of. Okay, too much of it, and I promise you, you will not be too happy with the end result. So 2 pods of cardamom, a couple of things of cloves. Next, cumin. I quite think that you can never have too much cumin. I love a bunch of cumin, so we're doing a bunch of cumin inside. Okay, a bunch of cumin. It is my favorite spice of all time, and that's why I always add so much of it. Next, everybody, some coriander seeds. Maybe half as much as the cumin is my go-to ratio. Okay, next up, we also got to go ahead and get some mustard seeds inside. Oftentimes, you would use black mustard seeds. These are just yellow mustard seeds. They're a little bit less intense than black mustard seeds, so we're going to need probably a little bit more than we would if we were to use black mustard seeds, but they're quite interchangeable. Okay, and then everybody, we also got to go ahead and get some chilies. And the only thing I'm going to do with the chilies is I'm just going to go ahead and take the seeds out. Okay, because the seeds, they just have some unnecessary spice, and they're not going to grind down all that well. Okay, I want to get all the delicious fruity flavor out of the chilies, but none of the extra heat. So all I'm doing is I'm cracking each of them open over my waste bowl and dumping out all of the seeds, and into the pan they go. Just like this, my friends. Nice and easy. Each and every single one of them get cracked open and into my little pan. Okay, and these red chilies, I believe these are Kashmiri chilies. They add a really nice fruitiness. They're not super spicy or anything. They just add in so much flavor into the final dish for today. And you can't have Indian cooking, of course, without a bunch of different spices. So hopefully I've explained the function of all the different spices that we're using and why we're using them and what they're adding into the dish. And everybody does theirs a little bit differently, right? There is no spice here that like, oh, this dish is gonna, be completely lost without it, right? But all in all, they do just become almost greater than the sum of their parts. So cumin, coriander, chilies, cardamom pods, and cloves, as well as some mustard seeds. And then separately, we'll be doing some of the fenugreek. But guys, it is time to toast the spices. We're gonna be toasting them up properly. I'm gonna go ahead and just get rid of a couple of things that I have just sitting here for some reason. Get rid of that. Get rid of this sheet tray that I have just hanging out. Okay, and now my friends, it is time for us to toast them. So how do we toast? We have to keep them constantly moving. If you don't keep this constantly moving, it's going to end up scorching and burning. And if you burn your spices, your dish is ruined. So all that we do is we just keep it shaken. We keep it shaking, and we're really looking to stop whenever it gets slightly smoky. We can really smell it. The fragrance starts hitting our kitchen, and it starts to get a couple of wisps of smoke. Also, Dental Phantom, welcome on in. It's lovely to have you. So once again, chilies, cardamom pods, mustard seeds, cloves, cumin, and coriander. That is what we have currently in this pan. Just toast it. Just toast it, my friends. Toast it, You don't even have to do the step too much. We can still just fry the spices in the oil, but the thing that I'm doing that's not super traditional is going to be grinding it down into a powder. Oftentimes, a lot of traditional Indian cooking, you would just have the whole spices in the dish, and I personally hate doing that. I hate doing that because I never want to serve people something they can't eat. I hate it when I'm given fragments of bones. I hate it when the fish doesn't have the bones taken out of it. I hate it when there's whole peppercorns. Okay? And so, this is completely up to my own culinary preference. Okay? That is why I prefer spice powders instead of putting in a whole spice in something. Okay? Keep it toasting, guys. Keep it toasting. And it's just like a really, really huge pet peeve. I honestly, as traditional as it might be, I think it's lazy. I think it's lazy, and it just makes a much more annoying consumer experience. It's a very, very big part of my culinary philosophy. I don't put things on a plate that can't be eaten. Okay? Everything that's on a plate for me, it must be edible or it must be functional. Right? Like a chicken leg is okay because you're holding it by the drum, you're holding it by the bone, and you're eating it. But if that's not the case, then I want nothing to do with it. Okay? So we toast it until we see some light smoke, a little bit longer, and then it will be perfect for us. Yeah, that's right, Louie. It's incredibly unpleasant. Okay, so everybody, that has now given us some slight wisps of smoke. My spices are beautifully toasted. Okay, they smell incredible at the moment. They're super, super aromatic, and we'll be grinding this down once this cools off into a really, really lovely spice powder. Okay, the mustard seeds, they've lost a little bit of their sheen. We toasted them up. Everything is really fragrant, and this is gonna be really, really, really the basis for today. This is gonna be where all of the flavor for the curry comes from, okay? Also, Jack, is there a dish that I don't feel like is suitable for beginners? I mean, is it a meat dish that I wouldn't recommend for beginners? The more components and the more layers something has, the more technical that it becomes, I wouldn't recommend for beginners. So I think a dish like a beef Wellington is a really big meme. Right? It's incredibly, it's so many different layers. It's so many different things going against each other. So that's like my first example that comes to mind. Or something like a whole piece of meat, absolutely. Because with a whole piece of meat, like a large piece of meat, like a big lamb leg, like a really, really big rib beef roast, there's a lot of temperature control that's a lot more delicate. And so I wouldn't recommend those for a beginner. Okay, everybody. It is time for us to go ahead and make our spice mix for today. And so, I'm gonna go ahead and get that ready. This is my new toy, my new little kitchen tool. This is my electric spice grinder. It's just a coffee grinder that I'm only using for spices. And this is a really nice tool to have. I recently got this because I was tired of using a mortar and pestle all the time. This is so much easier. If you plan to be using a lot of whole spices, which you should be, by the way, buying an electric spice grinder just goes a really, really long way. Okay, so all of that right on, and now let's go ahead and grind down the spice powder. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and get all of my lovely little spices inside, hopefully without spilling anything. Please, that's already one seed that kind of fell out. That's already two, and we've made a mess. Fun, love it. Okay, let's get a couple of things back into this thing. Get all my seeds back inside. Awesome. Okay, and now everybody, all that we have to do, we just gotta blitz it up. We gotta blitz it up until it's a completely fine powder. We don't want any chunks. We don't want anything inedible. I just want a lovely, beautiful powder. So grind it up, get it done. Just grind it up, get it done. Jack, I will not name my spice grinder after myself. Grind it up, and let's go ahead and inspect it. And I can already tell you this isn't enough yet. We still have like some whole little pieces in there. So let's go ahead and keep grinding it until we've obtained the fine powder of our dreams, my friends. Keep it going. I don't really think that you can overgrind something like this, but what do I know? Okay, and let's take a look. That is almost done. There's a couple of fibers inside that I still want to get rid of, so we're just gonna shake it. We're gonna shake it, shake it, shake it, shake it as it grinds. Shake it up. And what are we left with? We are left with this beautiful, beautiful spice powder. Awesome. Everybody, let's go ahead and just get that ready for today. Also, Duolingo, welcome on in. Howdy, howdy. Guys, come take a look. It is incredibly aromatic. It is incredibly flavorful. We have so many different spices inside at the moment. Okay, we have cardamom, we have cloves, we have chilies, we have cumin, we have coriander seeds, and we also have mustard seeds. This has so much flavor, and it's going to make our butter chicken really, really beautiful today. Okay, so let's just make sure that all of it, come on buddy, all of it gets inside, and it smells wonderful. You're absolutely correct in that regarding midnight. Okay. Awesome. All of that has been done. All of that is ready to go for today. And now we need to get my finishing spice blend ready to go. Because again, some spices get added at the beginning if we wanted to infuse into the oil, and some spices, because of how aromatic they are, we only want to add them in towards the end. Specifically, the two that I am talking about today is going to be my fenugreek and my garam masala. My fenugreek and my garam masala, those are exclusively for finishing. And all of these spices are going to get cooked in. Also, Duolingo, thank you so much for the sub. Thank you. Or the gifted sub, rather. Okay, so let's go ahead and take this little container, and we're going to do my fresh spices now. Okay, these are my finishing spices. These are the spices that will exclusively be added at the end of the cooking process. And we will be starting off with my favorite spice. This is fenugreek, which is actually more difficult to come by in Western supermarkets than I thought. Go to a South Asian grocery store. It is so much cheaper, and you will find so many more different spices than you can normally get. I love fenugreek to death, so I'm going to be using, truthfully, a really, really healthy amount of it. Okay? I'm not measuring. I'm not quantifying everything, guys. This is home cooking. We can go completely by vibes. We can go completely by feel. And then I'm only gonna do 1 spoon of garam masala, because too much garam masala and it becomes overpowering. Okay, it has a very strong licoricey taste sometimes to it. So 1 little spoonful of the garam masala. And this is now all of my finishing spices. My fenugreek and the garam masala, as well as my spice mix. Guys, look at that beautiful plate. Look at that plate. Doesn't that look amazing? I think that looks quite excellent at the moment, I have to say. Okay, so everybody, once again, we're cooking at home. And what does that mean? We have to clean as we go. I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of a couple of things, make some space for what we need to do next. Get that all done, get that all processed, get that all ready to go for today. And then we'll move on. Put my chilies away as well, because we have no more use for those little guys. Okie dokie. And let's get my cardamom pods and in here. Do we dip the onion in the spices? Not quite Duolingo, but we'll be sautéing it with all the spices. We'll be sautéing it and it'll be lovely, but I have everything separated because everything does get added at different points in the cooking process. Okay, let's do a recap session. We're making a butter chicken today with a coriander rice as well as a raita. And a raita is this essentially, it's like a yogurt sauce with some cucumber inside of it, okay? So it's not all that different from a tzatziki. So this is all the stuff that's gonna go into the butter chicken. We have a bunch of onions. We have some serrano chilies for the heat. We have garlic ginger paste, okay? We have this beautiful mix that we toasted ourselves, cardamom and cumin and coriander seeds and cloves and mustard seeds, as well as some chilies. And then this is some garam masala, as well as some fenugreek. And this gets added at the end of the cooking process. And in my fridge at the moment is my chicken sitting with the salt. Okay. So, everybody, I think it's time for us to begin cooking. I think it's time for us to start to get some things done for today. So, I'm gonna go ahead and start heating up my pan. Everybody, I have this lovely, beautiful stainless steel pan here, my nice Mavier pan. And as always, the trick with stainless steel is to heat things up nice and low and slow. So, this is gonna be a very important cooking topic that I'll get into a second. But first, let's talk about my fat of choice for today. We're gonna be using some ghee. Ghee, very, very traditional to use in a lot of different Indian cooking. Typically, the 3 different types of fat that is used in Indian cooking is mustard oil, okay? You see a lot of mustard oil, you see coconut oil, and then you see ghee. Ghee is essentially a toasted clarified butter, okay? Also, goodbye, Chai Chica, it was lovely to have you. And so what is the beauty of ghee? Okay, butter normally has a lot of water and has a lot of what's called milk solids. That water and those milk solids, they end up burning quite easily. And because of the fact that they burn, that doesn't let you do extended sauteing. Butter is typically used as a finishing tool, okay? But the beauty of something like ghee is because all of this stuff has been filtered out, all of the little protein solids, all the milk solids, okay? This can be heated up to much higher temperatures than regular butter, okay? So if you don't have ghee, you don't have access to it, and you don't want to make your own ghee, you can just use any neutral cooking oil. You can use mustard seed oil if you want to be really traditional. I wouldn't use coconut oil purely because we're not cooking with additional coconut, right? We don't have any coconut cream going inside. We don't have any coconut milk, and that might add additional flavor that we don't want. But I need a bunch of ghee at the moment, and it's a little difficult digging it out of the container. I want a bunch of fat. I want to be able to properly and beautifully saute everything that I need for today, okay? And the difference between ghee and clarified butter, by the way, is that in ghee, the butter solids are toasted. They're toasted a little bit, and so that gives the ghee more flavor, whereas clarified butter is only just filtered, okay? That is the only difference between the two. So, everybody, medium-low heat. And so let's talk about this really quickly. I'm gonna have a little sip of water. Okay. So, non-stick cookware has become incredibly popular in the last 50 years. Okay? Through capitalism, through all of these different food programs, through all these different sponsorship efforts, non-stick cookware has become what most Americans only have in their household. There are so many Americans that don't have a stainless steel pan, that don't have cast iron, that don't have carbon steel. And I think that's a tragedy, and I think that's a problem. Because what non-stick does is it tells people, hey, you know, you don't have to learn how to use me. You can't mess this up. It's really, really easy to use a non-stick pan. But here's the reality. A non-stick pan can't do everything that all these other pans do. In fact, a non-stick pan doesn't really do its job all that well. A non-stick pan, because of how thin the really crappy aluminum that they use inside of it is, it does not have even heat conduction. It's going to unevenly cook your food. Because of how thin the pan is, whenever you add food to the pan, it immediately becomes cold. Because of non-stick cookware and the actual coating, you can't actually take it onto a high heat because it damages the coating. Guys, I want to teach you all the beauty of all these different kinds of cookware. And listen, it is not most people's fault. Most people, they just never learned how to properly use stainless steel. Most people don't know why it works. So everybody, I need you all to listen. I need to hear yes, chef, please and thank you. Really important, first and foremost, we always heat it up on a medium-low heat for a long period of time. If you heat it up on too high of a heat for only a minute or two, you end up with hot spots and cool spots. On the cool spots, your food will end up sticking. And when people start having food stick to stainless steel pans, it ends up burning. And when it ends up burning, it turns bitter and all these other things that we don't want. The key to getting a stainless steel pan or any other kind of steel pan to be non-stick is to properly heat it through. And then it's also going to need some additional lubrication. It's going to need that additional fat. But by heating it through slowly, we ensure that we have no hot spots and we have no cool spots. Okay, so mine, this is a Mavier pan. It's a really fancy pan. It has like this aluminum core inside of it to help with the even heating. But even with any basic cookware that you have, guys, heating it up slowly, that is the real key to make sure that you have even consistent heat control. So a lot of people, they take a stainless steel pan, they crank it up to the max heat, they put some food down and it immediately sticks and they go, oh no, why? Maybe I should just be using a non-stick pan instead. It doesn't need to be that way. It does not need to be that way. I promise you, these tools can last you a lifetime. Non-stick pans are not built to last. That coating becomes damaged over time. Non-stick pans get more sticky over time. I like a non-stick pan if I want to do low heat cooking on eggs without getting any color. That is the only time I'll ever go out of my way to explicitly use non-stick. It doesn't have to always be that way, my friends. Your cookware is something that should last with you a long time. The thing is, the reason why people want you to invest into non-stick, the reason why companies want you to invest into non-stick is because it breaks, is because it goes bad. It's cheap to produce. You can use the worst quality steel inside of it. You can use the worst quality aluminum inside of it. Okay, it warps, it bends, and it gets more sticky, and people just want to throw it away and buy a new one. So, non-stick has a place in the kitchen, specifically low heat cooking with things like eggs. That's when I use my non-stick. Otherwise, you don't need it. You just have to learn how to use your other tools. And if you have any questions, if you have any problems with cast iron, with carbon steel, with copper, with stainless steel, just ask me. I'm here to help you guys out. Okay? Let's make pans but perishable. But Serena, that has been the capitalist model for the last 100 years. Things are built to break intentionally now. Things are built to break because nobody else is making things that are unbreakable. They win with good advertising, okay? And then they just make you go ahead and buy more. It's not conspiratorial. This is literally what capitalism does. Okay? And that is the tragedy of even trying to find and invest in any decent cookware whatsoever. Okay? Non-stick is the sheen of cookware. Again, it has its place and it has its time, just not always. So, that was my rant. That was my rant about non-stick. I'm not trying to demonize non-stick, but I want you all to start investing in tools that will last you a lifetime. This Mavier pan will never break. I will be probably using this until the day that I die, unless something goes wrong with it. Right? This pan, it's a very fancy one. It cost me a lot of money. Okay? But it will be with me for a long time and it will deliver me excellent food. Non-stick does not perform as well. It doesn't perform as well. It doesn't yield as good food depending on what you're doing. And more often than not, it breaks within 5 years. Probably 2 years. Non-stick pans, a lot of Americans, they replace those every 2 years. Okay? So yeah, please ask me. I do really implore you guys, because my goal, I want to teach you how to cook at home. I want to teach you how to understand food. I want to navigate this confusing space for you, because there's a lot of bad faith people selling you products and different ideas and things that you do not need. Take advantage of me. Ask me questions about these kinds of things, because I'm here to help. I am not here to profit off of the advice that I give. I'm here to try and help people. Okay? So take advantage of that and make good use of that. So everybody, my ghee has been heating up in a nice medium-low heat. What is my goal? My goal is to go ahead and properly saute my onions. And to get them sauteed, it's going to be a process of up to 15 minutes. And I said 15. This is not a process that can be rushed, because the goal is to get them beautiful and golden. And in order to do so, we have to first cook out the liquid of the onions. So all of my onions, they go in immediately. Right into all of my beautiful ghee. And guys, the smell of butter, the smell of ghee specifically with onions, it is one of life's most beautiful things that it has to offer for us. Okay? It smells lovely, it smells sweet, it smells nutty. We're smelling the onions cook. And now we're gonna hit this with a bunch of salt. The salt is going to help pull out the water, and the salt is also gonna help season everything. So, a little bit of salt goes in, or a lot of salt in my case. Chef, I gifted my dad an all-clad D5 and he tried to season it. Oh, that's funny. You should give him advice, Turina, because it's a very expensive piece of equipment. I've seen people try to season stainless steel. The reason why stainless steel can't be seasoned, per se, is because of the fact that it doesn't have enough pores in it. It needs like mechanical little holes in order to hold on to seasoning. Okay, so guys, I'm just gonna stir down my onions. And this is gonna be a process. The goal is to collapse the onion. The goal is to cook out the liquid. And then once that water evaporates, we'll be left with sweet, sweet, aromatic, delicious onions, okay? Well, steel pans, it's okay to scrub. Things like stainless steel, it's totally okay. It's only bad to scrub if you have like a cast iron or carbon steel. So guys, nice and low and slow, nice and chill. And then we can get some more prep done in the meantime as well. We have to do some prep for the rice. We have to do some prep for the Raita itself, right? So I think we can go ahead and get that started. But right now, we're just chilling. We're chilling. It's a nice, easy process. There's nothing crazy going on here. I've realized also ultimately with the rice, I only want it very lightly seasoned. I don't want to go too crazy with it. Also, I don't know who suggested it last time to do like a pot of rice with some starred anise, but I'm gonna do that today. We're gonna do that today and it'll be delicious. Okay. Yes, we will be using Basmati rice today, Lily. We will indeed be. So I'm gonna go ahead and get a couple of spices ready for the rice itself today. Okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and take a couple of those out. I have some starred. Whoop, I just had something fall out of my cupboard. Okay. I have some lovely starred anise, and we're just gonna grab 2 pods roughly. I'm just gonna go ahead and help make it nice and aromatic, everybody. So a little bit of that. And then what else am I going to want in this? I'm also going to probably want some, let's do some coriander seeds for an added level of herbaceousness. Let's do some coriander seeds. Just some coriander seeds, some of that. And then I'm also thinking maybe some turmeric, just to give it like a really, really beautiful golden color. I think that'll be really nice. That's just more so for color rather than it is for flavor or anything. Right? Just, I want a nice like golden rice, but I don't want to put too much effort into it today, okay? So let's just go ahead and get a nice spoonful of the turmeric. And chat, what do you think? Do you think that's going to be enough spices for today? I think that's going to be enough spices for today. That is purely just for the rice. The goal isn't to really strongly flavor it because the curry itself, the butter chicken, is where all of those flavors and all those spices will be. And this is purely just to make the rice a little bit more interesting. Okay, so let's go back to the stove. Back to the stove. Let's stir everything around and keep it all cooking. And so everybody, you can see with this temperature, with this kind of cooking, the onions don't have any color on it. And that's because they're so wet. Water directly inhibits things from browning. Water stops your steaks from searing. Water stops your onions from caramelizing. So that's why this process has to take so long, because the first goal that we have is to be able to properly cook out all of the liquid. We have to boil out the liquid. We have to collapse the onions, boil out the liquid, and then it can saute. One of the most important concepts in the kitchen, that I might even say is the most important concept, is moisture management. Almost everything in a kitchen comes back to managing the amount of liquid that you have in something. We either want to take out liquid, which is what we're doing here. We want to either keep the liquid, which is what we're doing with the chicken, or we want to add liquid. And that's what we'll do at the end of this process to stop everything from browning. Understanding when to add water, when to take it away, when to keep the water is what makes a really amazing chef. It is maybe the most important concept right next to heat control. Okay, so everything that we do in food somehow affects the moisture. Okay, everything that we do. And I do not even mean that as a hyperbole. I'm not even exaggerating when I say that. This is the most important thing that you need to learn a handle of. I don't want to teach people recipes. I don't want to teach people what we're doing. I want to teach you all to understand everything that we're doing. I want you all to learn how to feel cooking. I want you all to learn how to just understand the whys and the hows and not just the whats. And this is what other people fail to do so. Other people, they fail to really explain why something happens or how it happens. They just teach you, this is how you make this dish. But that doesn't make you a good chef. To become a really good home chef, to become a really good professional chef, I want you to understand every single little part of this process, why we're doing something, how this functions. So, if you have any questions about this process, it can be about really basic things. It can be about really complex things. Okay? I will always have an answer for you. And that's right, Louis, exactly, right? That is the guiding principle, right? Which is you teach a man liquid management, he eats forever. That's right. I'm not here just to teach you one recipe. I'm not here to teach you recipes altogether. I just want to teach you all how to feel. And how you feel is by asking a lot of questions. That is how I would say that I got good at cooking, right? Here's what would happen. I would have a question about like, why do I do this thing? And then I would experiment with doing that thing and not doing it. And then maybe I would Google that question. Why do we toast the spices? Why do we caramelize the onions? Why do we keep it on a low medium heat? By constantly asking yourselves, and no matter what pursuit you have in life, in food, in music, in anything creative, whenever you want to get good at something, the way that you actually get good, and not just perform, but the way that you actually get good is by asking questions. You ask an expert, you ask yourself, and you experiment. Can I please get a yes, chef? Okay? That is how I think that I got pretty okay at cooking. And that is what I want to emphasize and impart all of you into. Okay? I want to impart a sense of curiosity. I want you all to understand the importance of asking questions. Not how do I just get this done as fast as possible. You will never build an understanding that way. You'll never build an understanding by just purely seeking, how do I make this dish? The goal is to understand the steps. So that's enough of that. That was enough ranting. My onions are going, guys, and you can hear the sizzle picking up. Okay, we hear that sizzle. Why? Because the water is now cooking out and it's beginning to actually properly fry. So, good sauteing fundamentals, everybody. Number one, make sure nothing is stuck to the sides of your pan. The sides of your pan are the driest and they don't have any fat. They'll stick to the sides and they'll burn on the sides. Okay, next rule, especially because we want to get a very deep caramelization on something that has an irregular surface, like these chopped up onions. This needs time. If your heat is too high, you will burn the onions instead of fully, deeply caramelizing everything, okay? And we're not going for like a 40-minute caramelized onion. We're just looking for something nice and golden. And the more that we go, the more of a nutty taste that we develop, the more of a deep sweetness that we develop. And it is up to you to decide how much do you want to do. Chef, do you ever do Italian dishes? Absolutely. We do Italian dishes all the time. I just basically go off of whatever is inspiring me the most. I go off of what do I have in my fridge to get rid of. Okay? So yeah, we definitely do Italian dishes here. So everybody, while these onions are going, we're going to do the world's most annoying kitchen task, which is going to be taking some cilantro off the stems. Because we need the cilantro for everything. We need it to garnish the butter chicken, we need it to go into the rice itself, and we also need it for the raita. Okay, so it's time. Guys, I'm not going to lie, I hate plucking the stems off of herbs. I think it is a bit of a, I think it's annoying. But I think it's important for the taste and the texture that we're pursuing. There is no super fast way of getting it done. We just have to go ahead and get it done. So let's go ahead and begin that process in just a second. Again, medium, low heat, everybody, on these onions, low and slow. Low and slow is going to be the key here. Okay? So let's head back here. Let's get my herbs out. All of my lovely herbage. Okay? And I have all of this fresh cilantro. I also have some dill from something else, but we're not going to be using any dill today, not particularly found all that often in Indian cooking. Okay? All of this lovely cilantro. Let's get it out, let's get it out, let's take it out, and let's do something very nice with it. So again, some of this is going to go towards the raita, which is going to be the yogurt sauce. Also, Two Dads Kissing, welcome on in. Hello, hello. Also, hello to VCC TV. Some of this is going to go towards the yogurt sauce, some of this is going to go towards the chicken, and then some of this is going to go towards the rice itself. Is it another raid? Is that what's happening here? Or are you guys just stopping by and hanging out with us? It's another Vosh raid? Oh my gosh. Well, hello everybody. Welcome on in. Everybody that is just now joining us, everybody that is here, I want to hear a nice yes, chef, from everybody that is tuning in, from everybody that is watching, and I'll talk to you about what we're doing today. We're making a butter chicken today. If you want a full menu, if you want to see the full thing that we're doing, we type in ! menu. So we're doing a butter chicken today, and we'll talk about everything I have going on. I have some lovely onions slowly getting beautiful and golden brown with some ghee. Ghee is the clarified butter made out of toasted butter solids, okay, that is used all the time in Indian cooking. It's very aromatic, it's really, really nutty. We have a bunch of onions inside, and it's all gently and slowly sauteing on a medium-low heat. I'm here to teach you guys how to cook at home. I'm here to teach you guys how to understand food. So your job is just to watch and ask me some questions about what we're doing, or it can be about something else. We charred some tomatoes for the butter chicken, and this is the inspiration that I take from Mexican cooking. We char the tomatoes, and we get this really beautiful smoky element. Okay? Next, what do we have going on? I'm going to be making some raita. Raita is essentially just a yogurt sauce with some cucumber and cilantro inside of it, as well as some chilies. And then we'll also be doing an herb rice. So at the moment, we have to go ahead and we have to take care of all of this cilantro. Wrong camera. We have to pluck off all of these leaves from the stems. It's going to be a lot of effort, and we just got to get through it all. We have a big pile of cilantro, and the reason why I take off the stems, again, is just because I hate the texture of the cilantro stems. They tend to be a little bit woody, they tend to be a little bit fibrous, okay, and they're just not as tender as the leaves themselves. So a lot of chefs, they won't actually go through this process, right? They'll just include the stems in with everything, but again, that is just not a texture that I personally love. So do you have to do this? No, but I just think it's a very nice touch. So guys, that onion, especially inside of all of that ghee, is beautifully caramelizing, and let me show you some of the different things that we have today. I have this garlic ginger paste because you can't have Indian food without garlic ginger paste. We have some fenugreek and garam masala, and then I made the spice blend myself. We toasted and ground up some chilies, some cardamom, some cloves, some cumin, some coriander, okay, some mustard seeds. Okay, so we have this really beautiful warm spice blend made out of whole spices because, chat, we don't mess around. Also, I apologize if I'm a little off today. I think I'm a little bit sick, and so my voice is definitely showing that. But that's okay. A little bit of buttered chicken and all of my problems will just end up going away. Okay, so let's keep it going. That's right, Dental Phantom. All of this is just to make people taste soap. We don't mess around at all. Let's just go through and pluck it all off. Pluck it off. Get all of the cilantro leaves ready to go. Chef, I've really tried using a fork to remove the leaves. So, Louis, I have. And the issue is it keeps a lot of the thin stems and it causes the stems to actually break. I find that the best way to be like actually thorough about it is just to use your fingers. Okay, and it's okay if we have a couple of thin stems, but I just, again, with the times that I've tried doing it with a fork, it's gotten some of the stems as well. Okay, so that's entirely up to you. You don't even have to do the step if you don't want to, if you don't mind the texture of the cilantro stems. I do though, and I just think it's a very nice touch overall. So each and every single one of them, and everybody, the goal is to ultimately first use what we have. I've had a bunch of cilantro in my fridge that was going bad, so that's why we're cooking with so much of it today. Again, some of it will be used for the yogurt sauce, some of it will be used for the chicken to garnish, and then some of it will go into the rice as well. So we're gonna have a lot of delicious cilantro throughout everything. Does anybody have any questions for me? We're just doing something repetitive. We're just picking and we're plucking. We're picking and plucking. We're getting all of these little leaves off one by one. I'm gonna go back to the onions and give them a little stir, especially because as they continue to release sugar, it's going to get a little bit stickier at the bottom of the pan. And we just need to be patient and we need to scrape things up so that nothing sticks and burns. Okay, and now guys, my onions, they're slowly but surely beginning to get there. Chef, I like your shirt, thank you. I love him more. That was a really good game. Okay, keep it going guys, keep it plucking, keep it plucking. What is Chef's opinion on having ramen? I love ramen. I think ramen is delicious. Ooh, Tarina, I have a really huge opinion on ramen actually. Ready? Here's my opinion on ramen. So, is everybody ready for this one? This one's actually going to be a bit of a rant. I'm quite lucky to have grown up in New York, I think in some ways. In many ways, New York is ahead of the curve culinarily. Now, granted, Los Angeles, the West Coast, they've had ramen for quite some time. I got kind of spoiled, I think, on the quality of ramen in New York. I remember when I first traveled to see my now ex that lived in Florida. And it was like a little college town. And there was a college town, and it was like a ramen shop, and it was like decorated to look like a real, authentic ramen bar. And then I tried the ramen, and I ate it, and I thought that it sucked. And it sucked, and it sucked to death. And I'm not talking about like instant ramen here. It sucked so bad, and she thought it was good. And at the time, I was like, babe, are you serious? And then I realized, no, she's never actually been outside of there. That is the only ramen that she's actually experienced. And then I've had ramen in a couple of other places throughout the United States because I would travel for work. And it is so incredibly mediocre. I like cannot believe how spoiled I was on having remotely decent ramen in New York itself. Because everywhere you go, the cultural diffusion that takes place is usually immigrant community comes in, they establish restaurants of a certain kind, and then college towns just started having little pop-up restaurants from those certain cuisines, and it's always so mediocre. College town restaurants, they suck. They're really not good. And then they just end up spreading into small towns, and then like younger people, they just want to go ahead and eat it, and then those tend to be the clientele, and then over time it gets better. So I love ramen to death. I think ramen in the majority of the United States, some of it is inedible. And that's not me being pretentious or elitist here, it just needs another decade. It needs another decade, and it'll catch up to the standard that I already have established in New York, you know? So that's my little rant on ramen. Also, Jack, you asked me a very big question just now, okay? Jack, you asked me, how do you tell somebody that you like them? Okay, I have an answer for you. Here's the thing. a lot of people that I think are a little bit newer to relationships, they're not very cognizant of the interest that the other person may have in them. Okay, and they think that in order to tell somebody that they like them in some way, that it's just going to be like this really, really big announcement. Here's the reality, Jack. You can have your feelings, but they need to be proportionate to what the other person is giving off and outputting. You can be upfront with your intentions, but a lot of people can find it easily off-putting if you have very intense intentions about something that they don't feel mutually. Okay? And so if you want to tell somebody that you like them, you know, the first thing that you can do is just figure out, hey, are they interested in me in this way? Right? You can tell them very gently about your intentions, but I find that people who are very early into relationships are very early into dating, and if you're asking me that question, I feel like you would be as well, they tend to unload a lot that can't really be reciprocated in a way that's very intense. So you need to figure out, what is it that you like about them? What are your intentions? What do you want to do with them? And figure out if they're reciprocating any, anything in the same way. Ask them how they feel about you. Be honest with your intentions, but also, don't impose anything, right? So that's all I got in that regard. Okay, so everybody, my cilantro is all prepped and ready to go. My beautiful onions, they're continuing to get really nice and golden brown. So the biggest thing that I emphasize is think about them, think about their intentions. Don't just think about it in a very monofocused way of, oh, I need to confess my feelings. Figure out what they want out of you, and then talk about it. Talk about it really gently, but also don't get upset at somebody for not feeling some way mutually. You can be disappointed, but I find that oftentimes people early into relationships and dating, okay, they impose so many negative feelings, like, woe is me, forever alone. I hate women because they don't feel the same way about me. Don't impose them. They don't owe you anything. Just figure out what they want out of you. Figure out what they want out of you, right? And then if it's not mutual, be prepared to deal with that. So it's not a bad thing to voice your intentions. Just be gentle about it, is just my ultimate answer. Okay, everybody, my onions have been slowly going. They've been slowly going for so long. Now, we're going to add in my chilies. We don't add the chilies in the beginning because the chilies would end up burning, okay? I was just talking about, just men in general, Jack. My chilies would end up burning if we added them in the beginning. So in goes my serrano, and now we have a greater discussion of authenticity. These are serrano chilies. This is not the chili that is used in Indian cooking a lot. You typically have small green chilies that are used in Indian food. Now, does that mean I'm going to go out of my way and buy the exact kind of green chili that is used in Indian cooking? Absolutely not. Because what it means to cook at home is to make things accessible and convenient for you. And the beauty of chilies, the beauty of cooking with things like chilies, they're all somewhat interchangeable, right? All the spicy chilies, they're just sometimes more fruity or they're more spicy than the other ones. But they're all mostly interchangeable. Alliums are interchangeable. Leeks and onions and shallots, so on and so forth, they can and will be used interchangeably. So guys, the most authentic thing that you can do is to look at what is available to you. What do you already have in your fridge? What is cheap and what is nearby you? I don't mean like you have to go get everything that is grown locally. For most of the modern world, that is impossible now because everything is imported. I mean, look at your grocery stores. See what your grocery stores have them and adapt. Adapt, my friends. That is the most authentic thing you can do. You know what I hate? I'm going to tell you about something that I hate right now. There's all of these restaurants in New York, especially Italian restaurants, that love talking about like, oh, we get so-and-so imported from Italy. This is good because it's imported from Italy. Yeah, it's good. It's good that you're specifically paying 2 times as much for an ingredient purely because it's Italian and paying for all of those shipping costs and all the weight that goes alongside it. Is that really worth it? And the answer is no. Guys, it doesn't have to be authentic from that region. Make it authentic to you. Make it authentic to your kitchen. That way you get to have something unique. You get to have something special. You get to have something cheaper, okay? And it's done with so much more love. Authenticity regional authenticity, this has to come from this place, is so overrated. It is so overrated, and it keeps cooks down. It makes them think that they have to pay $20 for a thing of Parmigiano Reggiano. It makes people think they have to go all the way to the South Asian grocery store to get the kinds of chilies that they need. Do what you want, but guys, free yourselves. Free yourselves from those kinds of limitations. Okay, so I'm gonna say that my chilies are adequately sauteed. And now everybody, the most important component, the garlic ginger paste. We made it ourselves, we didn't get any pre-bought. Garlic ginger paste goes in, and it needs to be stirred constantly because it's so sweet, it's so high in sugar that it can easily burn if we don't stir it constantly. So guys, stir it, stir it, stir it, okay? Stir it up, and now the kitchen is becoming beautifully fragrant. We can smell that garlic ginger paste, but guys, we are not done. We are not done quite yet, because now, this is my pride and joy. This homemade spice mix, this homemade spice blend. We add it in, and guys, we need to mix this so it doesn't burn. We're infusing the ghee with that spice. We're toasting it slightly and changing its flavors. It's becoming incredibly aromatic, it's becoming incredibly delicious, but the pan is becoming sticky and dry. So we're gonna deglaze this with our tomatoes. The tomatoes are going to unstick everything because of how wet they are. They're going to unstick everything and stop the process of toasting and burning. Okay, so guys, scraping it up, stirring it often, a few more seconds. Okay, and in goes my lovely tomatoes, one by one. I'm squishing them so they release all of their water. My beautiful charred tomatoes, right? Why am I using charred tomatoes? Because I take a lot of inspiration from Mexican cooking. I love the smokiness that it provides. It just adds in another element, another level of flavor, everybody, okay? So all of my tomatoes, everything goes in now, and this is the beginning of our butter chicken. So squish it, press down the tomatoes, guys, press them down, get all of that lovely tomato liquid out, and scrape up the bottom. And I think we're going to need some additional water because the tomatoes haven't released enough water for us yet. And I know it doesn't look like much now, but guys, I promise you, once this all cooks down, it's gonna become a beautiful sauce. It's gonna become a beautiful curry for us today, okay? So I got a kettle with some water inside of it. I'm gonna pour in some water. And this is purely to help with the deglazing. Okay, it's going to help the tomatoes cook. It's going to help collapse everything. And guys, scrape up those sides, the sides of the pan. Also, hi Homelander, welcome on in. The sides of the pan has all the stuck spices. It has all of the fond. We need to make sure that all of it gets integrated and all of it gets put back inside of the final dish. So we dissolve it back into the water. We unstick it. Do not skip out on the step. Do not burn the spices that you have stuck to the side of the pan. Can I please get a yes, chef? From everybody watching. This is imperative because so many people, they add in the liquid, they stir it for 5 seconds, and then they stop. You need to stir this so much that we dissolve everything stuck back into the sauce, back into the gravy for today. That is why we stir, that is why we mix, that is why we scrape the bottom of the pan. And that seems a little bit obvious, but so many home cooks don't know why they're doing the things that they do. And so that is what I am here to show you guys. I'm here to teach you all how to understand different things. So now we got everything scraped up. And now everybody, this has got to cook down. Those tomatoes, we're going to reduce them. We're going to sweeten it up. We're going to blend it with the cream. We're going to be gently poaching the chicken inside of all of this as well. The only thing I'm going to do though, and this might seem counterintuitive if the goal is to evaporate the liquid, but the reason why I'm putting a lid on is because the steam is going to help the tomatoes to collapse. By cooking it through with the extra added heat of the steam, the tomatoes collapse, release the liquid, and then we can take off the lid. We take off the lid, okay, and then we're going to be slowly cooking it down until, guys, we blend it down. We obtain this beautiful creamy sauce. We finish it with heavy cream, and because it's a butter chicken, we finish it with some butter, and then we serve it. And it will be amazing. So does anybody have any questions for me in the meantime about this? I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of my sheet tray that once held my tomatoes. Okay, yep, that's nice and clean because we used foil. Although I would love to stop using foil one day rather. Okay, so guys, a little bit of steaming is all that we need to really properly collapse the tomatoes. So, what have we done so far? We made a spice mix, we sauteed the onions, we sauteed the garlic ginger paste. I am in the Eastern time zone, correct? Okay, we added the spices, we added the onions, we added the ghee, we added the tomatoes. We took the cilantro off the stems and we dry brined the chicken. Okay, so I'm actually going to talk about the chicken really quickly once more. So everybody, I have here a bunch of chicken thigh and chicken leg, or excuse me, chicken thigh, chicken breast, and chicken tender. We broke down a whole chicken and we've covered it with salt. And this is called dry brining. By seasoning it with salt in advance, we make sure that the salt penetrates the chicken, fully seasons it through, and it also makes the chicken juicier. It makes it hold on to the moisture so much better. It seems counterintuitive. You would think the salt pulls out liquid, but the salt helps to keep it juicy. What's my favorite British dish? I do like a full English Godzillas. I love a full English breakfast, as long as it's done well and it's not like Heinz baked beans. I love a full English. I have to say, it's pretty remarkable. It's a very, very beautiful thing to eat. Like a lot of meat, a lot of, like black pudding, some sausage, right? A little bit of bacon, an egg. I love protein maxing, so why not? Okay, guys, so you can see, look at all of the water that the tomato released. Okay, all of the water that the tomato released, right, has happened because of the fact that we steamed it through. So the lid helped us out a little bit, and now we just gotta cook this bad boy down. We gotta cook it down until the tomatoes are nice and soft. Oh, guys, it's gonna be spicy, it's gonna be flavorful, it's gonna be thick, it's gonna be rich. It is going to be so good. We have the sweetness from the onions, we have all of those spices, all of that garlic and all that ginger, and it's going to cook the chicken, and it's gonna be amazing. So I'm really, really excited about it, okay? I'm going to take a second just to put a few things away because, as always, guys, when we cook at home, we clean as we go. That is the most important part. So we have an empty dishwasher. Everybody, also a couple bits of housekeeping. Especially if you're new here, I need to hear yes, chef. I need you to follow the backup channel. Exclamation mark backup. I'm going to be announcing the move-in date this Friday, but we will be leaving this Twitch channel soon. The Twitch handle that we'll be moving to is Daramgar TV. Okay? Twitch.tv/Daramgar TV instead. And the schedule will be the same, but we have to leave this channel, unfortunately. Okay? Second thing, if you would like to support the show, my goal is to teach people how to cook at home. My goal is to teach people how to cook at home full-time one day. Exclamation mark Patreon is the way to go ahead and directly support me. The Patreon does not give you anything. It doesn't give you any paywalled content. I want everything here to be completely free to people. I want everything here to be free for people to watch. I want everything to be free for people to consume. I want all of my information to be free. The Patreon doesn't give you anything. The only thing that you get is the satisfaction of supporting me. Because I never want to paywall information, because my goal is to help people how to cook at home. I don't want to profit off of the lack of knowledge that people have. So if you want to help support the show, if you want to help support what we do here, the Patreon goes a super long way. Please and thank you. Okay, so guys, I'm going to take this, I'm going to just once again scrape up the sides. Anything that's stuck to the sides of the pan, it needs to find its way back into the rest of the food. We're losing flavor, we're losing spices that way, and it's just going to stick and burn and become impossible to clean. So just move it all around and keep it cooking. You're doing your part on the Patreon? Well, thank you. That's very sweet of you. But again, that's not an obligation for anybody. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and have a little sip of water. It's just Daramgar TV, so there's no I and A, Homelander. So just Daramgar TV. Okay, so everybody, we have to make the raita. We have to also make the rice component. The raita is going to be the yogurt, cucumber dip as well that we're going to just be cooling everything off with. So let's go ahead and get started. Yeah, we're just going to be keeping it chill for now, for a little bit. And then once the sauce is ready, once the gravy is ready, we'll blend it all down and cook the chicken inside of it until it's all ready to go. Okay, awesome. So let's go ahead and talk about some rice for a second. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get that started. Everybody, so I'm going to tell you something right now. There has been a very recent contemporary push for people to use rice cookers. I don't hate rice cookers. I think if you're eating rice really, really often, right, especially a lot of people, if they come from Asian households, they usually have a rice cooker all the time going, right? It's on throughout the day, and you eat it with several different meals. I don't eat rice with every single meal, and so I don't find that I need a rice cooker. Now, that does not mean you have to settle for mediocre rice. Most people were not taught how to achieve perfect rice at home, without a rice cooker. Guys, I have a question for all of you. How many times have you ended up with rice that was gloopy? How many times have you ended up with rice that was sticky and mushy and it looked like a porridge when you didn't want it to be? Instead of perfectly granular and separated. How many times has that happened to all of you? I would love to know. Okay? This is something that American cooks, I think, especially struggle with. Okay? Oven rice is the way to go if you don't have a rice cooker. Well, Gorm, I'm here to change your mind. I'm here to change your life, okay? Because what I'm about to say is, it doesn't have to be that way. I am going to teach you all how to understand cooking rice on the stovetop with any kind of rice besides brown rice. This doesn't apply to brown rice. But any kind of rice, basmati, jasmine, sushi rice, haiga rice, anything, okay? I'm going to talk to you and I'm going to make you understand every single step that we do. Number one, we never think about things in ratios or volumetric ratios or mass, and we never measure anything. I'm going to teach you how to feel the rice. So first, how much rice? I don't know, roughly half a cup to a quarter of a cup is a portion, but whatever. I'm just doing a bunch of rice for today, okay? Actually, this pan might be a little bit too small, but that's okay. Or it's a little too wide, but it's fine. So we got a bunch of rice inside. First, why do we wash rice to begin with, and why do we sometimes not wash rice? Washing rice, okay, first thing is we get rid of a little bit of dust off of it. It's pretty traditional to do that. The second thing that it does is it does get rid of some excess starch, and it stops it from becoming as gloopy. And the way that we wash the rice, guys, we don't do it over a strainer. And I'm going to explain to you why. So, here's a strainer, and I want you all to imagine washing rice with a strainer really quickly, okay? I want you all to imagine this for a second. Look what happens. We pour water on this, but the rice is not submerged. We just have different spots of the rice that we're hitting. We only wash rice inside of a pot or a bowl because that way we can actually ensure that the rice itself is getting evenly washed. So we wash it to get rid of the excess starch, and we never wash it on a strainer, okay? Do you all understand that? Do you all understand why we don't do that? Even if it seems easier to do it over a strainer, I just always wash it in the same pot that I'm going to cook in. Okay, it makes your life so much easier. Okay, next, I don't have a sink camera. Is it bad if you don't wash rice? No, it's not. A lot of people will get pretty elitist about it because that's the way that they grew up. And the answer is, for things like arborio rice, if you're making a risotto, you want all of that starch. So it's not bad at all. Okay, so guys, I'm going to be agitating it until the water runs clear. So I'm going to have to unfortunately step off camera for that. But in the meantime, you guys can just watch my beautiful butter chicken, my beautiful curry simmer away. And if you have any questions, I will be able to see the chat. Okay? So if you have any questions, you can talk to me, even if I'm going to be gone. I'm not going to be gone for too long, guys. I promise. Okay? So this is your best time to keep me entertained. So all that I'm washing, as I'm washing the rice, I'm agitating it with my fingertips, I'm separating the grains, and then I'm pouring out the starchy water that comes out. Lovely. Bye, Jack. Hope you have a lovely night. So yeah, just washing it until the water runs clear. And guys, you have your full creative control. Basically, what I'm trying to say is, the more individual and granular you want your rice, the less you need to, or the more you need to wash it. The more sticky and gloopy you want it to be, right, the less you need to wash it. The more starch that you want in something, right? For example, something like a risotto. Or if you need to toast the rice, right? A lot of Latin American rice dishes, they toast the rice. For risotto, you toast the rice. Then you don't wash it either. Okay? But in my case, this is just going to be a plain old boiled rice. And it's going to be lovely, and it's going to be perfect. I promise. Okay, and a couple of more passes until it's all ready to go for today. Lovely, nice and thorough. Again, guys, I apologize for having to step off frame for a second. I'm really sorry about this. Almost done, everybody. Couple more passes left to go. One day we will have a sync camera. I promise you. By the end of this year, we're gonna have a lot more cameras. I want to have this be a full studio kitchen. Okay? And lovely. So, everybody, I'm going to teach you all how to make the perfect stovetop rice. And the most important thing that you need to consider is the ratio of water to your rice. So, there is no such thing as a perfect ratio. It completely depends on what you want your texture of the rice to be. Okay? So you can't actually overcook rice. If your rice is mushy, it's because you have too much water. If your rice is too crunchy, it's because you didn't have enough. So here is the rule of thumb. Here is the rule of thumb, okay? Everybody, this is important. You want, first of all, just enough water to cover the rice, and then the more water you add on top of that will make the rice softer. In my case, because of the fact that I'm going to be eating this with something really, really saucy, I have barely any water on top of the rice. That is maybe 2 millimeters of water on top of the rice. Okay? By having so little water relative to that amount of rice, okay, we are going to ensure that we get very fluffy, very, very granular grains of rice instead of anything that's really mushy, instead of anything that's really gloopy. For a rice bowl, I like a little bit more water. I'm doing sushi rice. I want it to be sticky. Okay, guys? So take a look. Barely any water on top. I'm not using the fingernail method or anything. I don't think it's a very good test. Okay? But the only thing I'm going to do, which is totally optional, is I'm just going to add these spices in. My turmeric, my coriander seeds, just because I think it'll be nice to have. Okay, and I'm just going to mix in the spices, and this is just going to make our rice nice and golden and beautiful. Okay, there you go. All of that is inside. Awesome. Okay, that's it. Two Dads Kissing. I have no idea what they're called. Maybe you just look up stove counter divider, Google that, and you'll find it. Okay, so everybody, all that we need to do for the rice, really simple. Bring it up to a boil on a medium heat, drop it to a low heat, and cook it with a lid on for 20 minutes. While you can't actually overcook rice, you can 100% undercook it. In fact, I'm gonna have it be up here so you guys can see it a little bit more. Okay? You can't overcook rice. The longer that you cook it, the more crunchy the bottom gets. And the reason we use a non-stick pan instead of a stainless steel one is because it prevents it from getting too crunchy on the bottom. Using a stainless steel pot, you get a much more fragrant, much more toasted rice product at the end of the day. So, guys, super simple. We never mix it. We never stir it. We bring it up to a boil, we drop it to a simmer, we put a lid on, and we cook it for 20 minutes. You have to cook it for at least 17 to 18 minutes so that the inner bite of it is gone. But guys, that's it. That's all that there really is to it. So let's do a recap. How do we make perfect stovetop rice? We wash enough starch out until we get the consistency that we desire. We have barely just above the level of the rice itself, we have the water level. Depending on how soft you want the rice, we take it, we bring it to a boil, drop it to a simmer, and we cook it for 20 minutes. My rice is intentionally not salted because my curry is going to be really salty, it's going to be really spicy, it's going to be really seasoned. And so we want the rice itself to be intentionally bland to even that out. So, Gorim, that was for everybody. That whole rant about how to make perfect stovetop rice, I hope that was able to help you out a little bit. Okay? So guys, take a look at this. This is my lovely tomato. Everything has just been cooking for quite some time now. And now it is going to be time for us to taste it and give it a little bit of a blend. Well, actually, we can just blend first and then taste it. So, let's get ready for the blending session. Oh, honey, it's, wait, what time is it? It's 7:07 p.m. EDT. It's time for your blending session. Ooh, me. Okay, so all of that. First thing I'm doing, though, is I'm just scraping, again, anything that could be remotely stuck to the sides of the pan. Just like that, awesome. And now, we'll be using one of my favorite kitchen tools, the one and only immersion blender. And this is a kitchen tool that I do think everybody needs to own. Everybody needs to have a good immersion blender. So, this is an immersion blender. It's also called a stick blender. Why are these nice to have? These are really, really nice to have because you get to blend hot things without needing to let them cool down, and you get to blend them in the original container, depending on the depth of it, of course. Okay? So, they just make your life so much easier, guys. Do not sleep on immersion blenders. Everybody can have them. They seem really fancy. They seem like really professional tools, but I think everybody in a home kitchen, it's perfect for soups, it's perfect for stews, and it's perfect for sauces. My rice is bubbling, So really quickly, I'm putting a lid on and I'm setting a timer for 20 minutes. Low heat, everybody. Nice low heat. The lower the heat, the less crispy the bottom is. I don't want my bottom to be too crispy and dry. The higher the heat, the crispier it is. But guys, I'm gonna let you know a secret, okay? A higher heat does not make the rice cook quicker. It does not make it absorb water faster. If anything, a high heat can actually, through the agitation of boiling, it can make the outside of the rice mushy. So low heat is important in order to mitigate how dry it gets, but you can't actually overcook it. So that is the real secret about rice. You can cook it for as long as you want, but if there's water, it'll get mushy. So guys, immersion blender safety tip. Number 1, start off on a low speed. Because if you do a high speed with big chunks, it's going to paint your kitchen a new color. Low speed with big chunks, okay? And it's not going to splash up too much. So you always want to start low, and then we can turn it up. So we just want to process all of those big chunks. Okay? And the reality is, I think my pan is a little too shallow for this at the moment. Like, there's not enough gravy in here. We could put in some heavy cream. We could also transfer this into a different vessel. But I think that should be okay. And we're also probably going to need some more water because this is like too thick of a curry right now. It's like really dense. So we will probably need some additional moisture. Okay? So guys, let's get all of those big chunks and we got to blend them down and blend them down. And then we'll move on to the high speed to be able to get everything really, truly, beautifully processed. So again, any big chunks, first on a low speed. Then I'm going to go ahead and grab a little bit more water for us. A little bit of additional liquid. And let's pour that in. Again, just because I'm looking at that viscosity, I can tell you guys right now that that is way too thick for my use today. Okay, that is way too thick, and I don't need it to be that thick. And normally, I'm not against things being too thick. But in the case of this sauce, it's a little bit too much. Okay? So, everything in food, guys, it's all about balance. It's all about balance. It's all about finding the balance. You don't have to go extreme all the time. Super thick sauces, a million different spices. Find the balance that you like in your kitchen. Okay? And now, we get to really, truly make it all come together. We're gonna make it nice and smooth and creamy. And this is still before the addition of the cream itself. And we mix it around and we do it some more. Okay, there you go, guys. The blending process is beginning. Does anybody have any questions while we do this? Just blend it up until you get the consistency you desire. I want the sauce smooth. I want no seeds. I want no tomato skin. I want all of it to be beautifully blended down. And guys, the aroma from this thing is incredible. Okay, it has all of that delicious onion inside of it. It has that garlic ginger paste, that homemade spice blend, guys, that we did ourselves completely from the ground up with cardamom, with cumin, with coriander, okay, with some clove. This has so much love put inside of it, and now it is time to finish it with all that love too, okay? So just keep it going. Let's keep it going. And I want all chunks gone, my friends. I don't want to bite into any tomato. I want this to be the beautiful, thick curry, to go ahead and season our chicken, to season the rice. I want the rice to soak all of this stuff up, guys. Okay? I see a big chunk that I neglected. And it's going to be a process. It's going to be a while. Is this dish reheat friendly, chef? The Bronx, I'm going to tell you right now, it absolutely is reheat friendly. And the Bronx, you asked me an amazing question. This is the peak of home cooking to me. You know why? Rice, I microwave it 20 seconds, mix it 20 seconds, immediately reheatable. Raita, yogurt condiment in the fridge, reheatable. This type of curry, guys, reheatable. This is why I consider this ideal home cooking, because you can reheat this as many times as you need throughout the week. Now, it might be optimal when it's really, really fresh, but I don't teach anything that isn't suited for the home environment. So it absolutely is reheat friendly, the Bronx. I don't want to teach you guys dishes that are only good for 5 seconds. I want to teach you guys dishes that you can make ahead of time, that you can take with you to work, that you can take with you to the places that you need to go, that you can travel with, right? Because you're not supposed to cook a full meal every night unless you really want to, right? That's a luxury that a lot of people don't have because cooking takes up a lot of time. I want to teach you guys how to make a lot of something that is still amazing to have the next day. And this is one of those things. So, keep it going, guys. Keep it going, keep it blending. Sprinkle water on the rice before you heat. Nope, Serena. All I do, microwave 20 seconds, mix it 20 seconds, and then you have perfectly reheated rice. That is all that I ever do. I never sprinkle additional water on it. Never. Okay? And guys, we're getting there. We're almost at the consistency that I want. Again, this is a little difficult to properly blend because it's a little too shallow for my immersion blender. But we're getting there. We're slowly getting there. Slowly but surely, we are developing our curry. Ooh, that's a lot of effort. Do I have any opinion on multiverses? I sure do, Slippy. Oh, I have quite the opinion on multiverses. Oh boy. So, I'm just trying to figure out what I want to publicly say. That's all. So maybe I'll come back to your question a little bit. Okay, so Godzillas, you heard about the pathogenic dangers of reheating rice. So that specifically is for rice that has been sitting out all day. Right? And it's a very recent thing and people are getting quite upset about it because they said they've done it their whole lives. And the reality is, yes, if you leave food out for more than 4 hours and then you reheat it, there is some risk of pathogen. If you make it and then you put it in the fridge, it's fine. It's fine. This whole, like, it's quite a bit of fear-mongering, but I promise you, don't leave it out for too long. The longer you leave it out, the more of a risk it is, and then it'll be perfect. Okay? So, everybody, ooh, gosh, I just splashed it up on myself. And also, by the way, rice cookers, they do keep it at a safe temperature. So when they say that it stores it, the rice cooker still keeps it at a good temperature. Okay, I think that is going to be a sufficient amount of blending for today. I don't think I want to go any more purely because this is taking up, quite frankly, a lot more time than I wanted it to. So the only thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to stir this up, scrape up the sides once more, make sure there's no massive chunks, guys, and I'm going to have a little taste. Ooh. Oh, guys, that is good. Guys, that is amazing. That. Oh my God. Do you know how much flavor is inside of there? That is so aromatic. That is so delicious. But we're not done yet. Because, my friends, we have to take this back onto the heat. And now it will be time for us to cook that chicken. And we're going to be gently cooking it, guys, in this warm sauce. I do mean gently. Gently, gently, gently. Okay, so we put it back on to a medium heat, and I'm going to make sure that each of my pieces of chicken are nice and submerged. Why am I poaching it? I have chicken breasts, I have chicken tenders, I have chicken thighs. I don't want them to get overcooked and rubbery and dry. My goal is to have tender, juicy schmeat, my friends. And this is the way how. So all of it has been beautifully dry burned. All of it is going to stay nice and moist now. And I'm just going ahead and dunking it all into the sauce. I'm dunking it in. We're getting it inside, guys. Okay? And we never want this sauce to boil. I'm going to emphasize that again and again. Everybody, we're gently poaching this meat. We're not going to be destroying it with a lot of heat. If you take this and you blast it onto a high heat, you are going to end up with completely overcooked chicken that is dry and rubbery, and you bite into it and it feels like you're biting into chalk. And chat, my lovely little sous chefs, that is not what I want. So in they go, medium heat. I never want the sauce boiling. I never want it boiling. I only at most want a very gentle bubble. And that is how we will ensure that my chicken comes out perfectly cooked and not rubbery and dry. Everybody, how many times have you bitten into a stir-fry dish? Maybe a stir-fry dish that your mom made, right? And all the vegetables are nice and crisp and delicious, but then you bite into a chunk of chicken and it is dry. And it is like chalk. It's chalky and it's dry and it's chewy. Okay, how many times has that happened to you? And the answer is probably quite a lot if you grew up in any way quite like I did. Or you go out to a restaurant and there's chunks of chicken and it's dry. Chicken doesn't have to be that way. Chicken can be moist and supple and delicate, but you just have to be gentle. So, gentle bubbling at most, never an aggressive bubble. I'm gonna go ahead and take care of my immersion blender, because that is all done. That has now officially gotten all blended up. And I'll just be putting that into my drawers. Okay. All right, everybody. So what else do we have left to do? We have to slice the cilantro, and we also have to make the raita. The raita is that delicious yogurt sauce that we're going to be eating all the stuff with, okay? So, everybody, I need to hear a nice yes, chef. I need to make sure that you're all watching. We're going to now move on to slicing up the cilantro for today. So some cilantro will be used for garnish. Some of it will be used for the raita, and then some of it will be mixed into the rice itself. I have a bunch of cilantro. I wanted to use it up before it went bad, and this is part of me using it up before it all goes bad. Okay? So, as always, everybody, we never ever chop herbs in this household. We never chop it. We only slice it. So what is a chop versus a slice? A chop is a vertical motion. A slice is using the full length of your knife. When we chop, we don't use all of the knife, and we crush things as we go down. We don't want to crush these delicate, dainty little herbs. So all that we do, we take a nice big pile of cilantro, big pile. We bundle it up gently in our hands. And we use the full length of a really sharp knife, guys, and we slice it, and we slice it. Because if we chop it, we'll crush it and bruise it, and it'll turn brown, and it'll oxidize. So we slice it, my friends. We slice it, and we slice it, and we slice it, just like this, until we get perfectly sliced cilantro that doesn't bleed on the cutting board. It doesn't get crushed. It doesn't get destroyed. It is just perfectly sliced, perfectly processed. Okay? And we're going to go back through it. We're going to give it a 90-degree rotation and come back and just continue to slice it all up. Slice it up, my friends. Nice and thin. Nice little tiny pieces of cilantro. I hate getting a big piece of cilantro as a garnish. Chef, I should make merch that says no vertical force. So as cute as merchandise would be, unfortunately, I don't really want to profit off of merchandise. I don't want to make like a teespring or something and then sell poorly made t-shirts for $35 just so that I can make $5 off of it. So as cute of an idea as that is, I don't think it's very in line with what I'm trying to do here philosophically. You know, with like my goal of the cooking streams and my goal to help people and my goal to like only profit in a way that I deem to be ethical and responsible. So I'm sorry to disappoint you. I apologize. So guys, my chicken, it is gently poaching, and it's only going to need roughly, I want to say like 8 minutes of poaching in total. So not too much. So I'm going to go in now. I'm going to give it a little stir. Just a little gentle stir. We're not breaking anything up. We're not doing anything crazy to it. We just want juicy chicken, my friends. I want it juicy. I want it moist. And above all else, I want my chicken tender. And if it's not that, I'll be very upset about it. Okay? So, a lot of the cilantro is going to be used for the raita, right? Which is going to be the yogurt sauce that we're doing today. Also, lava juice box. Welcome on in. Hope you're having a beautiful day today. The rest of this is going to be used as garnish, okay? As well as mixing it in, right? Oh, God, that's not a name I've heard in so long. Jesus Christ. I forgot that's somebody who even existed. Wow. Okay. And so, some cilantro will be for garnish, and then the rest of this pile will be for this. Also, Alina, thank you so much for the sub. Thank you. I don't know if I said your full tag, but I really appreciate it. No, Talina, no. Please, anything but that, I beg you. Okay. Get all my cilantro off the cutting board, and again, this is going to get mixed into the rice, and this we will garnish the buttered chicken with once it's done. Okay? Gently poaching. Gently cooking along, scrape everything back inside. My rice has about 6 more minutes on it. And now everybody, we have to finish making the raita. Okay, we have to finish making the cucumber and yogurt sauce for you today. So, let's continue. I have here one lovely Serrano chili. I want my Raita spicy today because I think it's really, really fun to have like this really good contrast of like a cool yogurt and that spicy chili, okay? So we're gonna go ahead and we are gonna take this chili, but I will be taking the seeds out because I think that much Serrano at once will just end up being overpowering, okay? It'll just be way too much chili flavor, especially for that amount. So we'll be taking the seeds out. I'm a little, I'm a little afraid of that much in so little yogurt, okay? So cut off the head. Actually, maybe this knife would be a little bit easier for us to work with in this specific use case, okay? Pop them out, and guys, when you have gloves on, we can just dig your fingernail inside. Please don't do this without gloves because you will just end up giving yourself a problem. Okay, you'll touch your eyes, you'll touch your face, you'll touch something that you really should not touch with capsaicin-laced fingers, and then you will have an awful time, as I've done many times in the past. Okay, so I'm taking these, I'm slicing them lengthwise. Okay, I'm getting a bunch of thin strips of Serrano, and now everybody, the goal is to get a very, very fine mince on this, okay? So we take it and we slice it, and we get a really fine, thin dice. Because the goal isn't to bite into a massive chunk of chili. The goal is for this to just evenly get integrated into the sauce. So there you go. That's that. Awesome. And we're gonna take it and we're gonna give it one more pass all the way through. Just like so. Until we have a relatively finely minced chili. Audio Malifi, welcome on in. Hope you're having an excellent day today. So guys, all of that chili, we're gonna have to go ahead and put it in with my cilantro and my ginger from before. Take it and into the bowl it goes. Also guys, really quickly, I'm gonna be stirring my chicken, my beautiful pot of chicken that has just been gently poaching away, and will even be cutting into a piece because I wanna see how the thickest chunk of chicken is going. If the thickest chunk is done, the rest of it is also done, okay? So, we're gonna go ahead and do that in just a second. But first, everybody, we need to finish this curry. We need to finish it, and we need to finish it right. Two things. One, my fenugreek and my garam masala goes in now. Second component, guys. This was one of my inspirations for today. I have a bunch of heavy cream that I didn't know what to do with. So let's go ahead and finish the butter chicken with a healthy, and I do mean healthy amount of heavy cream right inside. And let's mix it in, and the heavy cream is gonna make it orange instead of super bright red or anything, okay? And I might wanna reduce this a little bit because we just added in all of that fresh cream. So guys, my chickeny chunks, they're cooking inside now. It's got all of those spices. It's got all of that flavor inside, okay? And now what am I checking for? I wanna see if my chicken is cooked through. And if it is, we'll kill the heat and be done with it. So everybody, time for the grand reveal. I'm gonna go ahead and grab a big chunk of chicken, right? Because if the biggest chunk is cooked, then the littlest chunks are also cooked. I'm gonna grab a nice big chunk of chicken, if I can try to find one. Please, someone, somebody. Okay, I think this one is going to do just fine. We're gonna take it and we're gonna have a little bite. And let's see how it tastes. Did I just fling some onto the ground? Guys, that is remarkable. That is so good. That is so supple. It is so tender. It's sweet. It's salty. It has everything that you could possibly desire inside of that pot right now. It just needs a big hit of salt. Right, just to make sure that the whole thing is nicely and thoroughly seasoned, and we'll mix it in once more. And then I think I can shut off the heat. I'm gonna be confident enough to do so. And that is the beauty, guys, of gently poaching the chicken. We don't attack it with heat. We don't slam it with heat. We're gentle, we're delicate, and we're subtle. And by being gentle and delicate and subtle, the chicken doesn't become overcooked, it doesn't become dry, it doesn't become chalky, and it doesn't become rubbery. Everybody, I can say with confidence that that chicken is just about done. And now, guess what? My rice component is also finished. My rice is done. Everybody, I'm going to show you my beautiful rice. Take a look at this thing. Okay, look at that rice. Look at it, nice and golden and gorgeous. And all I'm gonna do now, we're gonna mix in the cilantro. Perfectly cooked rice. No need for a rice cooker. Take it and we just mix it all in. We break it up and mix it in, my friends. Mix it in, mix it in, mix it in. It's aromatic, it's delicious. It has the cilantro running through all of it now. Okay, look at that rice. Look how delicious that rice looks. It's got the cilantro. It has some of the starry anise. It also has some coriander seeds in there for fun. It's aromatic, and it is, above all else, really, really tasty. Okay, everybody, we fluffed up the rice, we folded it, and now the last thing that it needs to do is basically steam through. Okay, we go ahead and we put a lid on it and we let it steam through so that the inner part of the rice is done and this is ready to serve. Everybody, my chicken, look at this beautiful curry. It's smoky, it's spicy, it's flavorful, it's fatty. We are missing one component though. Guys, this is a buttery chicken. You know what it doesn't have? Butter. Let's make it even richer. Let's make it even fattier. Let's make it even more delicious. And so I'm gonna do a couple of big chunks of butter directly inside, maybe even 3 chunks of butter directly inside. Come on, buddy, in you go. Just for a little bit of extra love, just for a little bit of extra flavor. And we finish with the butter because we had no use to even cook with it. And it's just gonna make the whole thing even silkier and even more delicious. And just mix it all in. And guys, that buttery chicken, look at it. It's juicy, it's viscous. Chef, how do you know how to put so much salt into something? Intuition and time, Serena. With time, you will know how much to put in, and then my answer will always be just taste it. Taste it as it goes, feel it as it goes. Taste it, taste it, taste it. If you taste as you go, you will build an understanding of how much salt you've added. Guys, that's my buttery chicken. We have to finish strong. Is everybody ready? We still gotta go ahead and make the rest of the raita. I'm gonna wash off my knife. I wish that I was already done with the cooking because I just wanna eat at the moment because everything is all ready for us, but we have to finish with the yogurt sauce. Okay? We're gonna make that delicious raita, we're gonna make that delicious yogurt sauce, we're gonna add some cucumber to it, and then we can properly feast, I think. Okay? So, let's go ahead and let's get that done, my friends. So, I actually really hate grating cucumber. Grating cucumber, I've always found it to be an extraordinary effort, and it gets very wet and it gets really messy. I'd much prefer just doing a super, super fine dice out of a cucumber. Okay? So, where's my cucumber? I have 2 out here just in case I needed to. I think I'm only gonna make enough for 1. So let me show you. Everybody, cucumber. Slice off the top, slice off the bottom. 1 beautiful cucumber. All that I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and cut it in half, lengthwise. Okay, just like so. And I'm using, wait a second. Huh? Did something go wrong with my camera? Guys, my camera, for some reason, has decided to stop working. Hold on. What is going on with my camera right now? Excuse me? Everybody, I need 1 second. I gotta fix this. I have no idea what... Okay. I don't think that's ever happened before. So it just completely froze up on me. Not happy about it, but we'll see. So guys, we're just gonna go ahead and cut this up into some sticks and do a very, very fine dice. How do you slice cucumbers with the little ridges like pickles have? Fancy knife? Fancy knife. You get a ridged knife. That's how people do it. Okay? So, cucumber, all that we're going to do, everybody, is we're just going to go ahead and just keep sizing this down until we get really, really thin planks of cucumber all the way through. Ooh, that one just went right in half. That's okay. Really, really thin planks, really thin strips. Because my goal is to get a really fine dice something so fine that it basically melts into the sauce. A lot of people, they say to grate the cucumber, but I find that if you grate the cucumber, it's just such a mess. It is so slow. It is so much effort. Okay, I do not like doing it above all else. So instead, we'll just slice it. We'll process it this way. It'll make my life so much easier. Oh, I really wish I can eat right now because everything is done and the chicken is perfect at the moment. But everybody, we must stay focused. We must be patient. Okay? And all that I'm going to do, I'm going to bundle up. I'm going to bundle up the cucumber and we're just going to process it. Really, really thin. Thin, thin, thin slice, guys. Thin, 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 thin. All the way through. Chef, do you have any opinions about salt? So, yes, my go-to salt for any kitchen use will always be kosher salt. Why? Because you can easily pick it up with your fingers. Kosher salt is close enough to use to pick it up with your fingers, and it's not so dense that you easily oversalt something. Table salt, not very useful for a lot of things. The reason why table salt is used because it's so fine that it dissolves really easily. Okay? But otherwise, there's really no culinary usage for it except in like a salad dressing, I think. Okay? So everybody, we're almost done. We're almost done with the cucumber. Almost done. I'm almost reassuring myself at the moment because I'm hungry and I want to eat. I only had like a little bit of lentil soup for lunch. Okay, everybody, all of that lovely cucumber. Let's grab it and let's put it into the bowl. And I believe we are now officially done with Mr. Cutting Board. We have no more use for him today. So let's go ahead and take him and set him aside, set him behind us. And now let's go ahead and finish that. Chef, what kind of cucumber is that? It's a Persian cucumber. My favorite kind of cucumbers will always be Persian cucumbers. English cucumbers, they're so wet, they have so little flavor, they suck. Persian cucumbers every single day of the week. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and just quickly wipe off my surface, get all that stuff off and into my trash bowl. And now guys, last but not least, we need some salt. We need a good pinch of salt in there. And then we're also going to need some Greek yogurt. And I'm completely eyeballing everything once again. I'm not being super exact. I'm not being super specific about the measurements for this. We're going completely by feel. Okay? So, I might just use this whole thing of yogurt, to be honest. Yep, whole thing of yogurt, mix it in, and that'll be a raita. It has the ginger, it has chilies, it has cilantro, it has a little bit of salt, it has the cucumbers. This is the raita for today. And I just wanted something very delicate. I wanted something very nice and cool. Okay, mix it all in. Mix it in, mix it in, mix it in. Make sure all that salt is evenly distributed. Okay, now let's have a little taste. Yeah, it's great. It has the heat from the chilies, some salt, the creaminess from the yogurt. That little bit of ginger, perfect. Okay. Everybody, are we ready to plate? I want to hear a nice yes, chef, please, and thank you. It is time for us to enter the final stage for today. This is where it all becomes really, really special. We're going to do this all, I think, in just one big plate. See if we can make it look nice. Hopefully it does look nice. Okay, so we're going to do the red rice method, the beloved, but we'll give it a shot. Okay, so where is my tool? There it is. I'm going to scoop some rice down onto a little bowl and turn it over on itself. Okay. So everybody come take a look. We're going to take the rice, we're going to pat it down, make sure that there's no air bubbles or anything inside. We're going to take it and we are going to just invert it over on this plate. Just like so. Tap, tap, help it come out. And now we have a lovely little mound of rice. Okay. Now, I want a nice big ladle full of all of my curry, of all of my beautiful juicy butter chicken. It's tender, it's perfectly cooked through, it's spicy, it's creamy, it has everything that you could possibly ever desired. That's this buttered chicken, my friends. And I want plenty of that sauce. And then we got to go ahead and get some fresh cilantro right on top. And now, last but not least, everybody, we'll go ahead and get a little thing of the Raita, this lovely yogurt sauce. And that is how I wanted to plate it. I wanted to plate it all together because my goal, where do I want to put this thing actually? Let's actually have it just settle in a little bit more, and let's push that in. I wanted to have my curry and the rice onto the same plate because I want all of my rice to soak it all up, guys. Look at it. Look at this beautiful thing. I might even take a picture of it if I didn't spread the sauce too close to the edge of the plate there. Everybody, that's my buttered chicken. We made a gorgeous spice blend, right? We made it out of cumin, coriander seeds, clove, cardamom, chilies as well, mustard seeds. We blended it all down. We also made a spice blend out of garam masala and fenugreek. We fried onions in some ghee. We added garlic ginger paste. We added this homemade spice blend. Then we added in some charred tomatoes. We cooked it all down, okay? We added in this chicken that we deboned ourselves. We let it gently poach. We added cream, and we finished it with the fenugreek and garam masala. Really basic rice. Turmeric, star anise, finished with coriander. And then we also have some raita, this beautiful cucumber sauce. And now, let's go ahead and have a little bite, everybody. I'm gonna grab a fork. I'm glad I pulled this off even as I was sick today and not feeling all that well. But we did it. I'm gonna grab some of that chicken, some of that rice, and some of that curry. And let's get a little bit of raita onto the next spoonful. Look at that. Guys. That is so good. That is so aromatic. That is so flavorful. That is so spicy. That is everything that you want. And that chicken isn't dry. That chicken is tender. That chicken is juicy. That chicken is exactly what you want it to be. And now I want some more raita with all of this. Yeah. Guys, that is so good. That is so yummy. That is so rich. I'm satisfied. Everybody, that's spicy. That'll be it for today. Everybody, thank you for stopping by. I'm going to see you all this Friday, 5 p.m. EDT as always, every Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday. Thank you all for being here. Thank you all for stopping by. Please follow the backup channel, !backup. Please go ahead and check me out on Patreon, !Patreon, if you want to help financially support the show. I hope you all have a good night. I hope you all stay safe. I hope you all be well. Good luck if you're working tomorrow. And yeah, thank you all. Have a really good night, everybody. I'll see you all in 2 days' time. Bye-bye.